6:01, we'll go ahead and get started. Call the meeting to order, and we'll rise with the invocation and pledge. And bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and the opportunity to serve our community. Guide our hearts and minds as we make decisions that affect our town. Give us wisdom, patience, and a spirit of cooperation. Bless our town, its leaders, and all who call it home. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Y'all forgive me. I know everybody's snotting and stuff because it's cold. I can't hear anything. I feel like I'm talking loud. I know I'm probably not, but we're going to power through anyway. So we will now open up for citizens' comments. Please be mindful. Try to limit it to 3 minutes and state your name. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm Sherilyn Parr. Wow, we're 3 months into this. I'm glad it's not a pregnancy. We have 6 more to go. But I think that in the last 3 months that we've been able to come to the cities and give them the benefit of a lot of experts' opinions and knowledge. And in doing that, it gives us a sense how precious our resource is, our water. And in my estimation, how important it is to keep it in the basin, the Cypress Creek Basin. There's going to come a time that we're going to have to work together. We're going to have to be on the same team because this is just a battle. It's not the war. And we have the resource, and there's going to be a lot of people coming after it. We took the bold move of contacting Elon Musk about a semiconductor production facility in East Texas. And what's unusual about us, and of course he's wanting to put in several semiconductor facilities. What's unusual about it, it's going to require water, number one. And for semiconductors, as they manufacture the wafers, it requires ultra pure water to wash them. And all that is, for about every 14 to 1,600 gallons of raw water, you can get about 1,000 gallons of ultra pure water. So it's not like, and they can use the raw water, and then the effluent can be re-sent back in. But we have everything that they need. Number one, we have the water. Number two, we have the location. We've invited him to drive down I-35 just a couple of times, and he would probably love East Texas. But the point being is we have the rail, we have everything that we need. And so in doing this, we want to say that we are on the same team. We really are on the same team. And we want to fight together. And the only thing that we're asking Northeast Texas, and Director, thank you, is to please keep our resource in the basin. Keep it here to our benefit. And then let's work together to use it to our benefit.
Thank you. Mr. Roach.
Thank you. My name is still Nelson Roach. I'm still the same person I was last month. First of all, I don't want anybody to gloat or anything when I say this, but it's my understanding that Mr. Wayne Owen either has or is about to resign from the NetMud. And I say that, don't gloat about that, for a number of reasons. One is, Mr. Owen was not an arrogant or boastful man. He was deeply wrong. He had a fundamental misunderstanding about this particular basin. And it was right for him to leave. But I do not take glee in him leaving. Now, I anticipate what you're going to hear tonight. I anticipate you're going to hear tonight that the contract is either negotiations are suspended, or they're tabled, or they're gonna cease until after the legislative session in June. So my point in all of this is, assuming that Mr. Owen is gone, that does not mean this issue is over. I think what the events of the last 3 months have demonstrated is, I believe that the NetMud board is suffering from an organizational psychological malady called groupthink. And if you don't know what that is, you can Google it. Groupthink. It sounds like a slang term, it's not. And what it is, it's phenomenon when very highly qualified people get together in a group and make a very bad decision. And basically, what it is a situation in which people, a small group of people, are together for a long period of time, and there develops within that group a hierarchy. And there develops an us versus me versus them mentality between the group and the group they represent. And I think that that is what has gone on with the NetMud board. A lot of these board members have been on this board for a very long time. The other thing I'll say about that is Walt Sears, the former executive director, and I were in law school together. So that's how long I knew Walt. Walt was an excellent director of the NetMud. Walt kept certain members of the board at bay who were pushing to commoditize our water. But Walt could not openly defy the board. And Walt knew that his time with the board was limited, because Walt knew, and Walt was not going to support this kind of a exploitative sale of water out of the basin, because he knew what an economic and ecological disaster it would be. And therefore, when Walt, at the first opportunity he had to retire, he knew he had to retire. He didn't want to retire. So now, the question is well, with Wayne Owen gone, does that mean this issue is resolved? What I'm telling you is it's not. And I know y'all get it. And what has amazed me, and this is part of the whole groupthink phenomenon, is I haven't talked to anybody who is not on the NetMud board, who is not employed by the NetMud board, who thinks that this would have been a good idea. Now, one of the things that has disturbed me about this campaign is what police officers will know this term. It's called juking the stats. And what that means is manipulating the statistics to create this false narrative that there was excess water in the basin. Under Texas law, water has a number of beneficial uses that are permissible to a permit holder. One of which is recreation, which the NetMud has a permit to use water for recreation. The other one that is recognized and promoted by the Water Code is in-stream environmental flows. When Walt Sears was the executive director, Walt Sears reported all the water that all of NetMud's water that is impounded in Lake of the Pines as being used for recreation purposes. Laura Ashley Overdyke, over the last 2 years, has repeatedly asked Wayne Owen to seek an amendment to the permit to allow in-stream environmental flows as being a permissible use of water, which I said is not only permitted now under the code, but it is actually promoted now under the code. He did two things. Number one, he did not report recreational use, and number two, he's never applied for or reported in-stream environmental flows. And I believe that was done to create this false narrative that there was water that was excess and not being utilized. And that was a reckless thing to do. And the reason why it was a reckless thing to do is because the statistics that are reported to Austin indicate that we have all this quote unquote unused permitted water. That put our permit and puts our permit as flagged that there's a problem. And that's why the North Texas could come in and say, hey, we're going to be your savior and we're going to take your quote unquote excess water. We need to protect our water in this basin. The other thing that y'all don't know and that I didn't know last month is that the North Texas Water Department, Brandy Brown, is she here? She went to the North Texas website and downloaded 18 hours of audio tape and listened to all of it. And she downloaded their documents about what they plan to do with our water. And the first thing that she noticed in going through the audio tapes is these people at the North Texas Water Department consider us to be chumps. That they were very respectful in terms of what they said and how they talked about us. And the second thing is in that data there was a PowerPoint presentation where they announced all of their plans to suck their straws on all the water sources in East Texas. And one of the things they disclosed in that document was that they went into executive session 3 weeks ago to buy Monticello and its water rights. All the way at the top of the basin. And what that would mean, because Lone Star Steel has the oldest and superior water rights, what it would mean is this. If they bought the Monticello water rights, they would have control of the Bob Sandlin Dam. If they buy U.S. Steel's water rights, they have priority on the pipeline to the water because Lone Star Steel has first water rights. That's one of the things that they have told you in some of these previous meetings. I say you, I mean all the city councils. I can't tell you which one they went to and said this, but they have on more than one occasion said the Netmud has the oldest water rights. That is absolutely false. Lone Star Steel's water rights were granted in 1942 during World War II, which gives them priority over the water if the sale occurred. The other thing is, the only way there can be enough water to make it justifiable to put their pipe in Lake of the Pines is if Netmud sells their water. So that means if Netmud doesn't sell their water, U.S. Steel cannot sell their water and Monticello cannot sell their water. Do you see how there's a domino reaction? A chain reaction? The net effect of that would have been that we would have given up priority over the water and we would have given up control over the Bob Sandlin Dam. So what I'm saying to you is that just saying that, hey, the contract is tabled doesn't mean this issue is over. The water permit needs to be amended to allow in-stream flows, and the reporting to the TCEQ needs to indicate that all of the water that is not consumed, that it goes where it's actually being used. And that's for recreation purposes and for in-stream environmental flows. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Go ahead, then I'll let Cody go. Sorry, Cody.
Just real quick, I'm a transplant from Fort Worth. My husband got a job with Custom Commodity 10 years ago,
Just state your name real quick.
Paula Orsic. And after 6 months of him working there, we knew that would be the job he would retire from. And he's 5 years away from retirement. So I cashed in money and moved us out here because DFW are horrible stewards of their natural resources. The reason I say that, where I grew up in a little area called John T. White between Fort Worth and Arlington, used to be beautiful tree-covered bluffs, spring-fed creeks. And when my generation started selling off the land, the developers promised that they would preserve those creeks. First thing they did was bulldoze them, turn them into rain runoff, and they don't even catch the water. So with that being said, in my 63 years, I've watched the surrounding lakes be drained down to a mud puddle. As a matter of fact, the drought of 2011, Eagle Mountain Lake was drained down where you could walk across it, and it took forever for it to recover. They did it to Granbury Lake, Benbrook Lake. Most summers, they have to put up signs, no swimming, because of the bacteria, because it gets so low that the oxygen, well, it's unhealthy. Arlington Lake, again. Then we move further east into Dallas, like over there by the naval base. Mountain Creek flows out of it. I have a relative that lives in Venus. Mountain Creek runs behind her place. When that lake gets unhealthy, she has green sludge running behind her house. So just the infrastructure alone underneath not being kept repaired. You can watch the news and see all these main breaks every summer. I mean, the list goes on. Too much for me to take up your time with, but you get the gist. They're not good stewards. So I cashed in my money, moved my husband and I out here because it reminded me of the beautiful country I grew up in and the people, the same kind of mentality. You help each other, you got each other's backs, and just, it's beautiful. And the water's so good and so sweet. So water is life. And you need to keep East Texas water in East Texas because you are going to have more people like me coming out here to get away from the irresponsible people in DFW. And it's because we respect your land, we respect your natural resources, and more importantly, we respect your people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cody.
So I came to speak on the agenda item of reimbursing for a sewer install for Ted and Abby Perchborn. I first learned of this issue while campaigning for Brianna McClain. She told me that she knew these people and they had an issue with having sewer installed, that the city would not install sewer. So being on the city council, I investigated, and I believe I talked on the phone, but then I emailed Mr. Perchborn, and I sent him some of the codes that says the city is required to provide sewer because it's a quarter mile down the street, it's in the city's certificated service area. And he responded by email, and these would be public records that you'd have to know they exist. So here's a copy for the city. That is the emails between Mr. Perchborn and I regarding sewer coverage in the city. And I told him that the city had to provide him with sewer coverage, and he said, "Thanks for the info. I read this as saying I'd be responsible for a lot of costs to get us hooked up. Am I reading this correctly?" And I said, "I read it as the city has to provide sewer to your property at relatively low cost. In any case, you make an application and they have to give you a cost. Then if it's unreasonable, you can challenge that." And I gave him another link to the statutes. And I said, if it were me, I would submit to them an application for new sewer service so that the clock starts running as soon as possible. You could go to City Hall and ask them if they have an application. If they don't, then have one ready to hand to them. And I said, and this is February 9th, this is January to February of 2023. So February 9th, I said, "Please let me know if you have or if you plan to submit an application for sewer service. It is available on the city's website or at City Hall." And then he said, "Thanks for all the info, but we are not going to apply for sewer service. We feel that based on the feedback we've gotten from the city, that doing so would delay our move-in date. I feel that delay would be too long for us to consider. So I don't know if this is on the agenda. They're asking to be reimbursed for the cost of installing a septic system, but they did not install it because it would delay their move-in date." And then I said, "All right." Well, I had another city official tell me that it was illegal to have a septic system in the city limits. It's my understanding that you've only talked to Shane. By law, the city has to provide you sewer service within the legally defined time frame and at a reasonable cost. And I said, let me know if there's anything I can do to help you in the future. And then on May of 2023, I emailed Shane and he confirmed that he told me it would take a couple of months, it would require a vote of the city council, et cetera, et cetera. And then Mr. Nick Nichols there, I did find an ordinance from 1997, and it says, no septic tank shall hereafter be constructed within the city limits of the city of Lone Star, Texas, without approval of the county health officer and according to the specifications set out by the health department of the state of Texas. I suppose that Northeast Texas Municipal Water District is covering that role, so if you had it inspected by them, then that would cover that, if it was done correctly and it was not within 200 feet of a water source and all of that. Because the fine on that is $500 per day, which is $182,000 a year. So anyways, I've provided the copies of those emails. They should be helpful.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, so if that's all, then we will move on. I'll get my agenda flipped back over here. City council matters. First thing we have is the presentation by Northeast Texas Municipal Water District.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm Sandy Wexler, and I've served on the board. It's nice to see everybody today. I know that, there's been a lot of, people have been upset, and there's been a lot of emotion that has been brought up about this. Some stuff factual, some not. But I want you to know personally, okay, me serving on the board, I've been on there since 2015, and there's not anybody on that board that I believe that would ever do anything to undermine anything in this area. We've always been very open to taking not only the environmental controls or flows, as they say. We've been very interested in that. Walt saw to it when Laura Ashley came and talked to the board. We've also just basically, anything, we wouldn't do anything to harm. We all live here too. But I will tell you where this deal is, everybody thinks there's a contract. The reason why I haven't come to the board prior to that, and I mentioned it to Dawn and Carrie back in December, is because unless there was a deal or something that was come before us that we would even think reasonable to be offered to our member cities, at that time it would have been introduced after the first of the year. At this day and stage, there is no contract. They may have something that maybe you've read, but we've never even seen it. They've made offers to us. We've always turned them down because we do feel that we're living in an area that's extremely valuable. The water's valuable, our area is valuable, and we take a lot of pride in what we do. There's nobody that serves on that board that's going to go out and try to, hurt this environment or hurt this area or hurt the people that we live in, because I live on Lone Star Lake too. And so I just wanted to clarify that. And the only reason why I'm here, I'm not trying to convince anybody about trying to sell the water to anybody outside of this basin. We all hear you on that board. Everybody has been loud and clear, so we get it. At this point, though, back in 1995, after Walt Sears was served, I think he came on in 91, I believe it was, 89?
1998.
Oh, 1998, okay, well, in 95.
Bill Dean.
Huh?
It was Bill Dean.
Oh, Bill Dean, okay. Well, isn't that when they had adjusted the 47,000 acre feet of water? And I'm gonna let Dominic do a little bit more clarification. That way that the member cities could get some residual off the raw water sales for all of the taxpayers. And I think my parents moved here back in 1978. We're still paying and participating what they call the dam tax. And a percentage based on the population and the taxes that were paid is based on how you receive your residual. So we'll go over that, and also how much water, basically, we're just prolific in water. We have a great abundance of it, which we're very blessed to have. But anyway, if you have any questions, I'm gonna let Dominic take over the rest of the presentation. I'm glad that you guys are here, and I appreciate being able to serve as your member.
Honorable Mayor,
City Council, thank you for having us here. Thank you all the guests. I'll do my best to answer all the questions and give you a little bit of what your director just said. So yes, in 1998, district allocated 47,000 acre feet for exclusive use for member cities. And that 47,000 acre feet been split between 7 member cities based on amount of money which was put out from your taxes to pay the Corps for creation of the lake or participating in it. Therefore, each member city has a different percentage available to them in this 47,000 acre feet. Northeast Texas Municipal District, according to our knowledge in the water industry in Texas, is the only one water authority or the water district which actively shares revenue with the member cities from the raw water sale. That means that any water allocated from this 47,000 acre feet to paying customers, and in your case, this is City of Marshall, this is Tryon Road, Diana, Harleton, all those money which comes in form of bills for using a treated water which have a component of raw water, obviously. That raw water sale comes in right back, we gather the money, we split it by percentage per each member city, and that is being sent to each member city. And in last 15 years, for City of Lone Star, we sent out $325,965.83, which is about $23,000 per year. Why this is on average is because sometimes Tryon Road uses more, sometimes less, so that literally varies. But you actually getting check every month from some of those sales, and like from Marshall, when they make one annual payment, you get that as soon as it arrives. Like Harleton is not going to take water for the next 3 months because they had a massive water break, and it's located underneath a creek, and they actually want the drought to be able to fix it because they cannot dig in an active creek. So actually, I'm sorry, but there will be a little shortage of the payment from Harleton for a few months, but as soon as they come back, they're probably gonna make it up. So this is just to tell you how some of the revenue is being passed to member cities. On top of it, I know we just went through a pretty drastic increase in the water rates, but for 14 years prior to it, you guys had $1.49 for 14 years straight per 1,000 gallons treated water. This is cheaper than most of raw water in anywhere in Texas. So even though by percentage that increase in water rate was significant, by monetary amount it was still not. I mean, we had to go up to a certain level in order to simply offset the rising costs of production, inflation, and we lost a lot of revenue from decrease in use in power plants. We got some of it back, but just to let you know, SWEPCO contract with us is 36,000 acre feet annually. Last year they took 2. That's very little, and that's what we get paid for. So we do have additional raw water sales, which offsets cost for district's operation. Your current water price per 1,000 gallons of treated water is about $3.40, and our actual cost last year with the debt is about $5.08. So this is about the amount of money which costs to make 1,000 gallons and transport it to the member city or customer. So this is still subsidy. The way how we can do this and don't go under is because we still get money from Longview contract. We still get money from like other customers like a MIMS water supply, which actually money goes straight to the district. And there's a return of the actual cost from Tryon Road and Diana, where we incur cost of production. They are on a little different contract where they pay their share. So I'm sure you've seen in our budget last year we had to do a repair and clean out of our intake structure. The only way how the water comes out of Lake of the Pines to us, that is a 230-foot long, 8-foot diameter intake structure, which was 7 feet full, because it just collects when you pull water, as Mr. Roach presented in the past by Mr. Thomas, the water will always carry sedimentation with it. And when you're withdrawing from the wet well, the stuff stays in the pipe. So that actually cost us over $340,000 to clean out. And it was absolutely crucial to do. Well, Tryon Road paid like $80,000 out of it. So they don't pay per 1,000 gallons, but they pay the cost of what we do. So it actually helps a lot. If they weren't there, that cost would have to be put on the district, therefore, for all the member cities. So this is just a little background of what we do every day. I am a chief operating officer. I started for the district in 2006. I had a house in Dangerfield. I walked in straight from the Dangerfield B interview as just a basic help, and progressed my at this point starting my career in water. So since 2006, and I came back to the district in 2020, took over operation, and we've been improving, repairing, fixing. We went together through Storm Uri. We all know what it cost, what it was, how terrible it was for everybody. So just want to let you guys know what Sandy said. We live here. This is our job. We want to keep living here. We want to work here. That's why we are here. We don't live in Dallas. I can get double my money in Dallas. I love being here for probably the same reasons as you do. So when we come here to present your numbers, it's not to tell you do this or do that. We look at what's presented to us or what the questions are asked to us, and we give the best answer we can with the information we have available to us, and we tell you where this information came from. So I'm not here, Sandy says, to sway you this or other way. You actually already made known your feeling about all this. But I will tell you and everybody here that if in 3 months Arkansas approaches me and says we want to buy your water, and if the deal is good enough that we believe you might be interested in, I'll be right back here presenting you a deal. But no matter what the deal is, you ultimately, that's per this, in the document which we gave you, which we assigned that 47,000 acre feet to you, we created a safety for you guys that you have to have 5 of member cities say yes to anything happening with your 47,000 acre feet, and you have to have 4 directors, which work for member cities, to say anything about the water of the district's portion to be done anything with it. So none of it can be done behind closed doors. You have to do this in a public meeting and vote. There's no other way to do this. Absolutely illegal. And there is the reason why we're not asking you right now to actually make your stance or opinion on actual deal is because, as Sandy says, we just don't have one. And it's not just my saying, and I know how it looks, but the same document you guys refer to from North Texas, if you go through first few slides and then you go actually in open meeting what their general manager says unsolicited, she says that once the draft agreement is reached, the public will have opportunity to review the details of the agreement and participate in open discussions before any partnership between the 2 districts is approved. That's what she says to her people. Not, we weren't there, we weren't asking her. So, I mean, if we're saying there is no deal, they saying there is no even draft. A lot of you is in business, you know how it works. You have to have there's not even pending sale. Pending sale means there was offer made, we approved it, and now we are tweaking everything. None of this sale can happen. Whatever, if they give you $1 trillion for this water, this board has to say yes. And 5 more has to say yes. And if they say yes, then we will do what the board tells us to do. That's why we were created. If they say no, we move on, next offer, or we keep doing what we've been doing for years. That's how it works. I understand how it looks. I understand that creates a lot of uncertainty because there's a lot of evil people around, and the people tend to screw people around. Actually, the people who created this district, they actually rode into contracts and other things, safeties, like this board, to actually prevent this from happening. So us as a district, our job is, my job always will be, first of all, to produce safe drinking water for those member cities. That's why that was created. Not, I know that sounds terrible, but this district was not made to save or not save Caddo or any other environment. That was made because City of Lone Star absolutely has no other way to give drinking water to drink, to bathe to their citizens. Neither is Dangerfield, neither is Hughes Springs, neither is Jefferson. They no longer can get water only from us. So this district has to produce drinking water, and it's been at this mission from the first day the plant got in service, and it never failed, not for one day. So that's pretty darn good record, I would say. So with, equipment gets old. Our tanks are 15 years past due on repairs, and we still we're trying to pump money back. So we started actually doing work to ensure that this district will produce water for those member cities, not for next 3 years, not till the day I retired, and after that I don't care, but for decades to come. Because unless you guys start digging wells, there is no other water. Lone Star right now cannot ask anybody. There is nobody to give it water. So if this water plant fails, there will be water tanks outside and the bottled water, and it doesn't matter. That's the only source. So this is serious. When we go to work, when we say our job literally gives water to all those people, and there's no other source, we mean it. So we operate 24/7. Doesn't matter holiday, doesn't matter storm, doesn't matter anything. When Storm Uri happened, I went to work on Sunday, I went home on Friday. I was smelling bad, I was feeling not good, but we survived. Houston failed, Southflex failed, half of Metroplex failed, billions of dollars, they failed, we didn't. Your city bought water, but not because there was no water, just because there was an error with a pump. That happens every day. It could happen right now. But as far as water supply, this plant somehow, by God's help, managed and worked. And we're very proud of it.
I will add too, all of the dripping faucets that everybody had on, although we got penalized and paid the extra electric bill that we got served through SWEPCO and whoever, we did not pass that cost on to our
Well,
customers.
we don't like to brag because this is not about, oh, look what we did for you and not, no. So, but yes, the director is correct. Every single city, including our city, which normally doesn't take our water at all, they are on wells, they're like, guess what? The wells froze. What happened? There was one phone call made. One phone call with a system which does not take our water. Within an hour, they were taking our water. The Ore City absolutely survived because we were able to, and we have in place a system to give them water when they need. City of Pittsburgh, we have our chief plant operator, Landon Tidmore here. He drove every day from his house in Lone Star, in Storm Uri, to Pittsburgh to operate that plant. Stay 24 hours, the next operator would come in. We had to operate 2 plants. That is not easy drive from here to the store down the road. He was driving every day. And again, this is not to brag, this is just the reason I'm saying this is to hope to pass to you guys that we really care about where we are or what we do. It's absolutely our life, and we care for it as much as you do in our point of view. Now, you can think different-wise by our actions, but again, we here to present you just numbers. So, we talked about how much water is being used. So, the state of Texas allowed Northeast Texas Municipal Water District every single year to pump out up to 203,800 acre feet. This is the all amount of water which was assessed by feasibility studies in this basin, how much water can be withdrawn from the Lake of the Pines safely in a year. And they give this water right to Northeast Texas Municipal Water District to administer. From this right, we allocated 47,000 acre feet to member cities. We allocated contracts like City of Longview, 20,000 acre feet, like SWEPCO, 36,000 acre feet, like City of Marshall, 9,000 acre feet. There's a lot of contracts which allows withdrawal of water. So based on every study done, this Lake of the Pines can give out to Northeast Texas Municipal Water District almost 204,000 acre feet. With this in mind, last year, all our customers, SWEPCO, Longview, Marshall, Tryon Road, Diana, all member cities used 9. Out of over 200,000 available, we used 9 in a whole year. that's why we say that there's, by the permit of what we can use and been estimated can be used, there is a lot of water. So it is for the new business to open up. It is for another city wants to, again, there's plenty of water. If we use 9 out of 200,000, that's 5%. It just numbers. I'm not telling you to, whatever you want to do with this. I'm just saying that's how much we used, that's how much we could have used. On top of it, last year, the lake is full. What we consider full is conservation pool, 228.5 feet above sea level. At this level, the lake can hold about 242,000 acre feet. So at this level, doesn't matter, we can withdraw, based on permit, 204,000 acre feet. Last year, for 2024, the lake stayed full. What left Lake of the Pines was 800,000 acre feet. So 3.5 full lakes gone, never comes back to Texas. It's been used, but it left. It's never coming back. And the full lake still stayed. That's all we want you to know, and then you make your own mind if this is enough or not. So just since the beginning of this year, we've been in a wet season, and I understand those stats are different in a drought of record or the drier, and we can talk about it as well. But just this particular year, from the January 1st till today, 67 billion gallons left Lake of the Pines. This is 205,000 acre feet. Entire allowance of what we have to withdraw from this lake is gone since 1st of this year. The lake is still full. That's all we're saying. So that's about 1 billion gallons a day is leaving. And it's not damaging the lake. The lake is still there. So this is just number I want to share. Any questions, I guess, because I don't want to be, I can talk about this for hours.
What percentage of the member cities is Lone Star? It's based on our pay.
I believe it's 10.3%, but I can come back to
That's
you.
close enough.
Yeah. So basically, if we get $100,000 check from whoever, and this is within your 47,000 acre feet, your city would get $10,000 out of it, check passed to you.
Yes, sir.
I understand exactly what Dominic's saying, and all this, no dispute about it, but they're in the water business. But Lake of the Pines was authorized for 3 things: flood risk management, water, and recreation, funded for. And I understand you're in the water business, and it's easy to get tunnel vision where you're just looking at water, you know. But you've got to go for all 3 of those things, because that's what the lake was for. There wouldn't have been a water district if it hadn't been for the flood risk management.
I agree.
And fortunately, we have some people that had the foresight to form this water district, which I can't imagine how they ever got it passed, to tell you the truth. I mean, you know, we talk about this, but you can imagine how it would be to get a district passed. But the thing of it is, and I understand I know water is his business, but you gotta keep in mind, it's for all 3 things, it's not just for water. And that water that goes over, that's because it's a certain way. You have to regulate that water to prevent flooding downstream. You have to let it out at times, you have to hold it at times. And that's that water you see going. And it looks like it's just going, but that was part of the authorization of the project.
Sir, what was your name again?
Jerry Thomas.
Jerry Thomas, okay.
Yes, sir, Mr. Rhodes.
Ms. Wexler said that there's been a lot of misinformation. And what I'd like to say about that is, I don't want to go through and delineate all the instances of misinformation that I've delineated in some of these other city council meetings. And all of that misinformation that I delineated came from either Wayne Owen or one of the NetMud directors, or one of the NetMud employees. And what I would like to know is what, if anything, has Laura Ashley Overdyke said that constitutes misinformation? And what, if anything, has Jerry Thomas said in any of these meetings that constitutes misinformation? And what have I said in any of these meetings that constitute misinformation? And the other thing is this statement about, well, there's no contract, there's never been a contract, it's not an issue. Cody videotaped the meeting where Wayne Owen came in here and he laid out for you the terms of the major terms of the contract. Contract wasn't complete because all the terms were not agreed to, but the outline of the contract was agreed to, and you know that because Mr. Owen came in whenever it was, November or whatever, and he laid it all out for you. And that's the basis upon which all of this came about. And then if you go to the North Texas Municipal Water District, if you go to their website and you look at their documentation, they lay out what they say the terms of the contract were going to be. And lo and behold, what do you know? They correspond with what Wayne Owen told you back last year in front of this council. So to say this is all pie in the sky, it wasn't serious, you know, we weren't about to cut a deal, yeah, you were. Yeah, you were. And in terms of the discussion about the directors, that the directors were not advocates of this. I'm sorry, but I went to the Pittsburgh City Council meeting with Mr. Smith, got up there and advocated all of this. And I was at the Avenger City Council meeting with Mr. Jack Salmon, advocated all of this, and both of them were talking about excess water in the basin. The other thing that is misleading about what Dominic said in talking about the permit and how permit water is used is, number one, as I said before, permit water can be used for other things other than consumption. Recreation, in-stream flows, for example, agriculture. But more importantly, when you talk about the use of water, there is a big difference between intra-basin diversion of water and inter-basin diversion of water. When you divert the water within the basin, that can usually be done in ways that water goes back into the basin. And it does not result in a net loss to the basin. But when you have an inter-basin transfer of water, that water is taken out of the basin and it never comes back. And it completely alters the ecosystem. And so it is very misleading to equate an inter-basin transfer of water with an intra-basin transfer of water. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, Dominique, I would like to say, I understand, I know you have a reputation as being a wonderful treatment plant operator. I was licensed through TCEQ with a West Texas surface water source with my surface water license as well as my wastewater. So I get it. And thank you. Your value is recognized and we understand that. And I think what Mr. Roach is saying is basically what I'm wanting to say. The biggest issue is the water leaving the basin. And because we are a small basin, we are uniquely vulnerable. I know that the city of Dallas right now will finalize the pipeline going from Palestine. And they can move up to 350 million gallons a day. And it will go into Cypress Springs and Richland Chambers. Now, what I see is the Metroplex putting their water sources into savings accounts and coming to East Texas as their personal rain barrel and we're being targeted because of our rain. And we can't always rely on the rain. I mean, we can't. And I know that there's a lot of water, but it also gives us the opportunity to grow our economic development in this area. And we have a lot of reasons to grow that. And so whenever you talk about moving, Wayne Owens spent 30 years plus with Tarrant County. And his forte was building pipelines for municipal water sources. And so consequently, we brought him over here, and he took the attitude of, let's sell this water rather than manage this water. And I think what so many of the citizens, when we first got wind of it, was that it seemed to be something that was being done quietly with an NDA, et cetera. And so all we are seeing initially is, okay, wow, where is this coming from? And we're seeing a resource that cannot be replicated. I mean, there's no way. And so we understand what we have, but we also hope to work in conjunction, because like I said, guys, we're gonna have to be on the same team, because you are right, they're coming, and they're gonna keep coming. And the only way is that we can keep them at bay is we come up with uses for our water. And I do know, you talk about firm water, I know, when you talk about usable water, I've been watching closely, and I know the initially prepared plan was just released by Texas Water Development Board. But they did not put usable water in there for Lake of the Pines yet. Do you know what that number's expected to come back at? Because I've heard anywhere, I know we've gone from 203,800 usable acre feet of water for what you guys have. And we've now gone down to about approximately 198,000 acre feet of usable water. And I've heard figures that it could be as low as 151,000.
Am I allowed to? Ms. Barr, so what you're referring to is called WAM, Water Availability Model.
Okay.
So 3 years ago or so, the North Texas Municipal Water District and Northeast Texas commissioned two independent from each other studies. They used Friesen Nichols, we used Carollo,
Right.
to create a new, updated water availability model, WAM, for Lake of the Pines.
Mm-hmm.
So this looks only how much water is available in the Lake of the Pines,
Right.
with taking all the contributors coming in it, current contracts, what's happening, how it's happening, evaporation.
Sedimentation,
So they looked at
volumetric,
all
right.
this, and they put all this data against the drought of record.
Mhm.
So as we speak, that finished study is almost a year on the desk of TCQ.
Right.
Just bureaucracy, they work their way to
Right.
review it, and then once this approved, and it's usually just check marks for was it done correctly. They don't do separate study. So it's,
Well, and I knew that when they did their initially prepared plan and just released it, like within the last 30 days, they did not, they leave that open. I mean, where you
it's
can
not
come in
yet,
and
yeah.
comment, but it was not
Yeah.
in there.
So, and this is public information. I can bring it to you, but
No, and
because
I
yeah.
just wondered, because,
So the firm water, if I don't have it with me,
Right.
so please don't quote me if I'm off
Right.
few numbers. But what is firm water? Firm water is the water which is gonna be in this lake with all the contracts
Right.
at all times, even in the drought of record. The
Right.
drought of record has been established, new drought of record has been established for the year 2011. And that doesn't mean that that's where the lake was the lowest. It means for how many days was at certain low levels, etc. So they take different variables. So I think there was other year where the lake went a little lower than the lowest point,
Right.
but it stayed there for just very short amount of time. Therefore, they establish, and those are guys, this is their career. All they do is models.
Exactly.
Those are just as nerds as they get. They just plug in numbers as the same as experts used by TCQ, Laura Ashley, Mr. Roach. It just, that's what they do.
That's what they do.
And that was two separate, so it doesn't create like, oh, we let them do it. So, and then if they come up about the same, that means that the work was done correctly.
Right.
So, I believe that firm amount yield about 156,000 acre feet.
Okay.
What does it mean? That in the drought of record, if all the bad things would happen, that the 156,000 acre feet was available to withdraw.
Right. Exactly.
Now, to give the full picture, what happens to the remaining 40-something thousand acre feet? So, yes, it's firm for the drought of record, but the remaining portion, it's firm 93% of the time, which makes this water unbelievably valuable because unfirm water in our lakes is there only for 30% of the time.
Right.
Because it's always low, always low, always low. So that water, the 100% of Yale, is only available here and there. In Lake of the Pines, the 100% Yale is available 93% of the time. That is unbelievable asset. This water is only, so if you take 100 years, well, that's wrong because it's based on you cannot compare them because there's a drought and obviously it's not there. But then 93% of the time that full water is there. That's why when we always speak, and I understand there was challenge, and I absolutely cannot prove it until I have a contract in hand, but I can show you our previous contracts, which have it. So that is the only way I can show you that this is not just words. That it says that if anything happens like drought or water quality or some catastrophic events, even in the place where we granted cities 47,000 acre feet, even in this document we say, if the drought happens, we might ask you guys to slow down.
Right.
So the contract with Longview says we absolutely can tell you to stop.
Right.
If the levels, and those are just contractual. On top of it, you have a drought contingency, which is submitted to DCQ every 5 years. And that drought contingency looks at this basin here, right here, and it says, when Lake of the Pines is at this level, we and only us can say what's happening. So you slow down by this percent, by this percent, by this percent. On top of it, you've got blockades in the contracts. But again, I cannot, this is how it's done, and
Right.
there is not one contract or document show that we did ever otherwise.
Let me ask you, does Net Northeast Texas, do you utilize anybody for economic development and anybody that pursues grants? Because I do know you were talking earlier about infrastructure and, you know, your tanks and things like that. And I know Sweetwater just got a fairly sizable grant that the state of Texas has made a priority for rural areas.
Yes.
And so do we have somebody with Northeast Texas that will work with the cities in pursuing not only grant money that would be available for infrastructure, but also economic development?
So that, in a form between the Northeast Texas Municipal Water District and the cities, we do not have this as a part of operation.
So maybe we could do that rather than pay for lobbyists? Cities pursue their own ways of financing their projects. Okay.
And City of Lone Star will be different than City of Dangerfield.
Right.
Then we just been sitting in Jefferson where they hire their own grant consultant and he secured them, and I might be wrong number, but I think $6 million infrastructure grant, which is 90-10, means that the 90% will be forgotten as long as city participate in the 10%, which will be $600,000, and that was for, I believe, lift stations, infrastructure pipes, etc. And our city's absolutely in dire need of it. Now, district itself seeks those type of finances if it's available. So we're trying to pay for everything cash, not to incur interest rates. So the last bond which was issued was for expansion of the plant, which increased Tanner plant from 3.5 million to 8 million gallons.
Right.
And that was with partnership with Diana and Tryon,
Right.
which actually still participate in the cost sharing for this project. The next one, we just submitted PIF, a project information form to Texas Water Development Board, and that will be reviewed by them in 3 different funding options for a big projects we have to do within the next 5 to 10 years.
Right.
They're gonna be staggering numbers, 50, 60.
Well, you can understand where I'm saying sometimes it's better to use somebody else's money, like the state of Texas, and pay a very small interest rate rather than use cash. Because I do know at one point Wayne Owen had talked about a water treatment facility that he said he couldn't come up with the bond money for. I mean, and those were just in one of his talking
So,
points
yeah.
and some things I was listening to.
You are correct, from the
And-
financial standpoint.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is, you said yourself that the 7 cities are the only ones, to your knowledge, in the state of Texas that receive remuneration from participating for those. And so, wouldn't it be nice to have a Northeast Texas Municipal Water District that works in conjunction, because some of these smaller cities maybe don't have the, contacts or whatever the case may be, and to be able to work with a water district within our basin to grow our basin.
Ms. Parr, well, I can answer is, and I do not speak for the board of, just from my limited knowledge on this
Right.
issue, is that if there ever is any approach from the member cities for any help, we always try to work with or help, including as small phone calls as a phone call about help with samples, etc. This is on a micro
Right,
level.
right.
But if City of Lone Star approaches us with any idea which we find that we can do without, you have to remember that we are a system. So what we
Right.
do for Lone Star, that means we're doing it for all 7.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
if the cost is occurred by us doing the just for Lone Star, the other 6 needs to agree with it.
And just in case anybody shows up from Arkansas and says they want our water, no.
Well, I hear you, but I still will be here taking all the meeting you guys want to give me, and I will still have to present this offer to the mayor, and
You can
then,
put in the Metroplex in there too.
Right,
and then they will say yes or no,
there you go.
and then I go back and I make sure the water is flowing, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious, have you received any information on the water parks and how much water they're gonna require that's going up around the Metroplex? I know of 3, but I heard a lady at Hughes Spring that's from Dallas said actually there's 6 water parks going up.
100% absolutely, we do not get this information
Is that
provided.
something you could look into and make sure that the water's not gonna be wasted? Because we have our own water park, it's called Lake of the Pines.
I'm sure that I don't think in any contract you can request usage of water. That's something, that's something.
But they're gonna be huge, they're gonna be huge parks, and they're gonna require, mega obscene amounts of water. And not only that, with the broken pipes and the outdated pipes, which I heard the Texas Water Commission talking about allocating money to fix infrastructure would save billions of gallons of water right there. And also to set up a desalination station down in Corpus Christi to help these bigger cities. So I'm just wondering, with these big water parks going in, can you look into that to see how much water that's gonna be taken to kind of weigh into all these decisions of, do we want that water going to water parks and other wasted water? Or do we want to keep it here and create our own? Because there's businesses interested in coming out here, but they're not gonna make any decisions till they know how everybody's gonna vote.
To answer your questions, district have no jurisdiction, unfortunately, by how we exist to tell anybody, including city, what, if the
Well,
city of Lone Star.
I'm just wanting
Yeah.
the research. I just wanna know how many gallons it's gonna require to help us decide.
Every single contract, if there is a contract with whoever, it's analyzed based on the principle when you decide what's happening, when's happening, how
Right,
happening.
and I'm not even talking about a contract. I'm talking about these water parks that are going in and how much water they're gonna require, because it's gonna be a lot of water. And if they're wanting our water, well, then that's, if there ever is a contract, that's gotta weigh into it. Because that's a lot of water. I mean, we're talking obscene amounts of water. And as the water district, that's something that would be concerning.
I understand your concern,
Yes.
I just don't think that legally we can actually,
We don't have answers for that right now.
Well,
yeah, so.
yeah, I'm just wondering if it was something you could look into.
We can look into it,
Yeah,
but
that's all I was asking.
Yes, sir.
Brianna, thank you. I don't mean for this to be a back and forth, but there are three things that Dominic brought out that I don't think's been, there's a big misunderstanding. Number one, Dominic keeps saying that in a drought, we have a drought contingency plan and we can reduce water consumption. I think that Dominic will have to agree that in 2011, if you look at the basin usage data, it shows that the highest water consumption occurred in 2011. So even with mandatory water rationing, people use more water in a drought, correct? Second thing is, with respect to the discussions about the net mud and what the net mud could do in a contract to contractually restrict the amount of water that could be taken out of this basin in a drought, what's not addressed and what NetMud has no control over, if there is a contract, is U.S. Steel. And U.S. Steel has the priority water rights. And so NetMud can say whatever they want to about what they put in the contract. They cannot control what U.S. Steel does if there's a contract. But if there's no contract, the NetMud can block U.S. Steel from selling their water rights, and they can block Monticello from selling their water rights. And so it's misleading to say, hey, we can control this water in the basin through contract. And then the third misstatement about this is that in a drought, we control the priority of the water, ignoring the fact that U.S. Steel has the priority water rights, because under the water code, the commissioner has the right to suspend all priority water rights for 180 days in a drought if they declare an emergency. And what they can do is they can declare an emergency for 180 days, and then they can go 2 more days and they can declare a new emergency. And I've said many times, this was too much, it was too far, and it was to a customer that was too powerful. And we give up control to a customer that is too powerful, that will control where that water goes in the event of a drought. The other thing is, I have not heard from Dominic, I have not seen from Dominic a model showing what would happen to Lake of the Pines were this contract in effect, not with the 2011 drought, but with the drought from the 1950s. So, I'm sorry. I've heard all the facts and figures, I've heard all that. The numbers don't matter unless you deal with the effects of that. And they cannot control the priority rights of the water. They can't control U.S. Steel. They can't control Monticello. But actually they can, and that's by not executing the contract.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Barbara Howell-Lepre, and I just had a couple questions. You're talking with the other person over there about, if you get an offer from Arkansas or, Abilene or something, whoever outside of this area, why would we even need to entertain an offer sending water outside the basin? Couldn't we just say that, nobody wants to send it out here? Out of this area? No matter how, $1 million a gallon isn't gonna be enough to send the water out forever?
The 47,000 acre feet decision of water sale belongs
Right.
to the, so I have to tell them if there's an offer. They cannot come and ask City of Lone Star. They
Right.
have to come and ask the district. So as a steward and representative of interest of 47,000 acre feet, I have to give this information if
Okay.
it's valuable
Okay.
and present to the mayor to say yes or no with her
So
council.
if the member cities put out a resolution to say that they did not want the water district to sell water outside of the, even a 100-mile radius, let's say, I don't, whatever, or outside the basin, or whatever, whatever it is, then you wouldn't need to waste time and money on these negotiations to begin with. Would that be correct?
Anything which is going to be related to the interest of those cities, we will follow whatever cities we're willing to do.
Okay, I'm just
So-
curious because I know a lot of time and money has been spent already. I mean, we, most of us, just found out about this 2 months ago, but apparently this has been in negotiation for a few years now.
Actually, the Lake of the Pines as a source of water for North Texas Region C, and you guys can look this up, it's been in the books since 2007. It's been absolutely, those maps, everything else, it's there, and it's being updated every 5 years. It's just been released. Their Region C plan says there's 2 Marvin Nichols reservoirs. I don't see them. They can put in their plan whatever they want. Our plan, Region D, does not have Marvin Nichols. They are due. So
Yeah, they
it's
just made the news
it's
tonight.
just the plan. They have to show TCQ that they're planning for future.
Okay.
Same like we just presented new contract to the city because TCQ of treated water, TCQ required you to have minimums and maximums. A few years back, they were just like, they have all the water they need. Now they said if they don't have maximum and minimums of treated water in writing, that would start charging them a violation. So we had to redo every single of 7 contracts and actually put that we going to provide 0.6 gallons per minute per connection. So this is for 1,400 people town. That same rule applies to 2 million people. So if you take 2 million times 0.6 gallons per minute per collection, this is not that the people are coming, they are running out of water. They cannot show TCQ that they have this enough for the next 10, 15, 20 years. A lot of this water is on paper. I mean, I'm not saying it's not leaving and it eventually won't leave, but the plan has been there since 2007. Absolutely, this is now. Yes, the more precise talks developed over the last few months. And yes, when there was an offer presented which was absolutely valuable for cities to consider, that were going to be presented. And then to partially answer maybe to Mr. Roach, the moment you do feasibility study, the moment you have everything in place, because one variable changes, you have to do new feasibility study, and this is required by the law. So we can sign contract, me and you right now, that we selling 50,000 acre feet. We agree, city says okay. That absolutely is not going to happen until you actually going to have issue of interbasin transfer. To do this takes 7 to 10 years. And then they go through every single bit of checking, doing studies, getting environmental groups. You can read on their plan that this was part of how that's supposed to go if it ever comes to play. Then if they can agree, then the deal goes through and the contract is ratified and is done. If it doesn't, it's null and void. So all these things happen, but there has to be how it's going to happen first.
Can either one of them tell us anything that Laura Ashley Overdyke has said, or Jerry Thomas has said, or I've said that is misinformation?
First of all, I don't think you ever heard from me on record that I use
I know, and
misinformation.
I'm not accusing you of.
But you said,
saying that.
so I just want to, for just so everybody understands, they never came out of my mouth. So,
And let me make it clear, I've never accused you of
yeah,
that.
I'm just
I'm
kidding.
asking you as a resource witness,
Uh-huh.
and which is what you are, not an advocate, or you're not supposed to be. So I'm asking you as a resource witness, what, if anything, has Laura Ashley Overdyke, or Jerry Thomas, or me said that's misinformation?
On top of my head, I don't have nothing which I can tell you right now, which I would call, misinformation on purpose or something in a way to make public things or not. So I don't know if that's what you're asking, but again, that's we might disagree on the interpretation of certain facts, and obviously we do, or how to understand certain data. And that's, I think, for the discussion. But as Ms. Barr says, and I think Mayor mentioned before, what I would love to do, if it's possible during this meeting, is establish one thing. We absolutely want Lake of the Pines to be the safest, the most clear, good quality water, and all our neighbors to keep benefiting from this lake and this area for as long as this is feasibly possible. We've been proving since inception of the district that that's our mission. We've been treating giant salvinia, we've been helping releases of paddlefish, we've been doing a lot of things to help member cities and customers, improving information. Absolutely, there is not one thing on record up to this deal coming place that we are any villain here or trying to hurt anybody by any means. So if we agree at some point that we all want this area to be safe, we are just trying to find a little bit extra financial help for the people of those 7 member cities which absolutely went through a hardship, collected taxes, and help this environment to be where it is. And we believe there is amount of water which can be utilized and then passed back to those guys, so they don't have to have a special meeting because 1,100 feet of pipe is laying on the ground and it's public threat, and it's not in the budget. It's hard to do without money.
Right.
It's absolutely hard to do.
With that being said, with you were talking about grants. Would those grants also help with economic development?
Well,
so
there
that we
are
keep our-
economic development grants.
Okay, that's what I was
Now,
wondering.
we have reached out personally. We have
Okay.
reached out to Elon Musk because of the semiconductor, and it is something that is growing. China has been in control of it. We are, because of new administration now in the White House, they are pushing hard for semiconductors. And so I have gone in and done a great deal of research. And it takes ultra pure water for the process, and it takes a lot of water. And if you actually look and go into South Austin and Choke Canyon, you can go into, you can go into the city, Corpus Spring, or Corpus Christi Lake. You can go into these different lakes down there that are in fairly what you would think would be high rainfall areas, but you have so many people that are pulling because we are growing so fast.
Is this helping them bring in business?
And so I think that it will, but what we need to do is to focus on, people seem to forget East Texas, and I kind of like that. And yet, there's going to come a point where we're going to have to reach out and say, hey, because if we want to keep the water in the basin, we have to do something ourselves to try and keep it.
Well, we need jobs too.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Brianne,
Rhodes.
I hate to bring it up again, but there's another issue, and that is this whole issue about the use of the water and customer of the water. I had a meeting with Mayor Abernathy yesterday, and we were discussing the Pilgrims issue, and that is that Pilgrims has selected, it was 3 sites, it's now down to 2 sites where they're going to put in another chicken processing plant and a prepared food plant that will provide 2,000 jobs. And the 2 locations that it's been narrowed down to is a place in Georgia and Pittsburgh, Texas. And the reason why they believe Pittsburgh, Texas would get the contract is because of the issue of water. And what Mayor Abernathy told me yesterday was he's scared to death because this contract raises the question of whether or not whether the water is available. And so this whole issue about selling water out of the basin and economic development is a very prescient issue right now. And that's the danger of I want to know, when did the NetMud know that Pittsburgh was in the running for that plant? Because Mayor Abernathy said that this has put that issue in danger. And this is the problem with looking at the NetMud as though it is a profit-making business as opposed to a public utility. It is here for the purpose of the people and the industry of East Texas. And an inter-basin transfer of water changes the environment. And it is, all diversions of water are a compromise. All engineering decisions are a compromise. And an intra-basin transfer of water has a very, very, very different effect on the ecosystem than an inter-basin transfer of water. And so I think that this whole enterprise has been a terrible folly.
Yes, sir.
I wasn't going to say too much tonight. I was just going to listen, but after hearing some things, I just wanted to say some things. I've been to a lot of meetings lately. I never leave my house. I served, I've done my thing, and if I never see people, I'm completely happy with that. And I love my little house and my little corner lot, and I'm happy to be there. But when the community needs me, I will be there for them. And I've watched some disturbing things on the Netwater board that is really concerning. I watched a member of the board try to basically impede somebody's freedom of speech during a public meeting and outspeak out. It was really verbally attack on him. I watched another NetMud board member stand up in front of his citizens, basically ultimately at the end of the day they're his citizens, and say whatever water Wayne wants, that water Wayne is gonna get. I watched another board member stand up and tell us there's no deal, there's nothing going on. And then 2 days later, North Texas Water basically says, hey, we're planning on sucking like 117,000 gallons of water from you guys. No deal or deal. They thought it was a done deal. They still think it's a done deal. Just because there's nothing on paper doesn't mean there's no gentleman's agreement on the phone or a handshake behind a closed door that we're not aware of. And that happens all the time. And I've seen some disturbing things, and power corrupts. And when you have board members that have been on the board for as long as they've been on the board, unchallenged, unwavered by the people, there's a problem. And that's a serious problem. As a soldier and a non-commissioned officer, we were always told never lead from behind. Always be in front. You lead the way for your soldiers. And I want to thank you guys for doing that with your resolution and coming out so other people could set that for. I want to make that clear. That was an amazing job on your guys' part, and I am so happy that you guys set the example and are leading by example. But by no means is this over. And right now, we have it on the ground where we're stepping on our throats. And as a soldier, we need to put our foot down on that pedal and drive this message all the ways home. And if that means new board members, with new people that are out looking for these towns and these citizens, to the point where we're looking for these citizens and the benefit of these towns, that's what we need to do. And I am appalled by the board members' actions and by what they're doing. And I've never seen anybody from Texas Institute down there in Caddo Lake ever have to backpedal. And people that tell the truth never backpedal. People that don't tell the truth backpedal all the time. And that's from a soldier who's trained over 10,000 other soldiers. I've seen it all. In 1994, when I was just a young pump in the military, we did polygraph testing where they're switching over from the old analog machines to the new polygraph machines. And I got to go to all the classes and learn through a couple of contracting agencies is what they call them now today. They're 3-letter organizations. They can't say where they're from. But I got to do all the training with them in Fort McClellan, Alabama, just a few hundred miles away. And it was a life-changing experience. And I see things and I hear things and I'm able to analyze things through that. And I don't have a degree in it, but I still understand that training. And We need to take control, pull back the reins, reassess. America's forgotten that it was built on small communities like this, not big cities like Dallas or Houston or New York. Small communities. That's what we came to this country for, where our forefathers came from. We built small communities, and we drove from there. Cities, giant cities, were an afterthought, and we need to start really controlling our people again, and really look in the mirror of what's going on, and be more diligent into what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we ready to wrap this up?
Thank you, guys.
Hey, Mayor McLean, excuse me just a moment. Citizens' comments, and I missed you. If you don't
Oh, I
mind.
thought it was on the agenda, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, no,
Okay.
I missed it, so if you
Okay,
don't
well,
mind.
we can just still do it then if it's still.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, Mayor, Council, I'm Gene Keenan with Republic Services, the trash company here. And I'm here to present my annual $1,000 to be split between the fire department and the police department. That's for them to be able to use that for fundraisers, for challenge coins, whatever they want to use, just not tires for the cars. It's for them to be able to use for things that, you know, that the taxpayers don't really pay, but. It's, sure, there you go.
Thank
Every community, small community needs good police and fire protection, so we're just advocating of that.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. That's it. We're gonna move on to our regular scheduled meeting here.
Well, I'm actually on the EdCog Economic Development.
Moving on to approval of reports. Everybody's had the whole thing.
I believe everybody's had time to look at it. I make a motion that we approve 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.7, A and B of our reports.
I have a motion from Cindy.
I'll say.
Did you say your second? Sorry, I can't hear nothing. All right, second from Dawn. All in favor? Aye. 4-0, motion carries. Moving on to action items, 7.1, review discussion possible action for surety bond approval for Randy Hodges. I know there were some questions last time. Do you want to elaborate? Or Ms. Carroll?
Okay, they seem to need an explanation about what the surety bond is. The surety bond is a three-party agreement between the surety, the principal, the surety, and obligee. The principal being Randy. The surety is a bond company, and then you've got the obligee, who is the person who's gonna have the benefits. So there's a claim, benefit. Yeah, forgive me, I don't much sleep back there, but past my bedtime on this. But anyway, the way it works also, it's more like, it's a guarantee. It's not really an insurance policy, it's a guarantee. It guarantees that the EDC will run the business like our bylaws say. And I understand our bylaws were passed at one of the meetings, like recently. Okay. In the bylaws, it does state that we do have a surety bond. And so we do need to have a surety bond on Randy. That's all we need right now because we do not do our financials yet. The city is still in charge of all that. But we do need it on that. And another thing about the way it works, I'm sure that he's going to do everything he can to the best of his ability, and as the laws of the city and the EDC of policy. Because what happens that the surety company will pay a claim if there's a claim and it's money against us. But the surety company is going to come back right around to Randy and ask for repayment. That's the way it works. It's not an insurance policy. It is a bond.
And that was my question when this was originally brought up, was if an issue comes up and the surety pays out, they're gonna come looking to get their money back.
That's right.
And the question was,
But the
who are
person
they
that's the
chasing for
principal,
that?
And the person that's the principal, that's right.
Okay, so it's the named person on the surety bond. Okay,
Correct.
and that was my only question, is who pays it back?
It's something that you need because when you're doing business with people, it gives them a guarantee that you're going to do the job. You're going to do it right. Is there any questions?
And how much was that one? We didn't print off the amount.
100,000.
Was it 7? How much was it?
Oh, you're talking about what it's gonna cost?
Yes.
$647.50, I believe, if I remember right. Yeah, for 2-year term, for 2 years. And I went with Richardson
Oh. 614.
Insurance out of Dangerfield.
And the EDC pays this, or the city
The
Armstrong
EDC
pays
pays it.
That's, just clarify.
Okay, so I'm not understanding the reasoning for having a surety bond is my problem.
Because-
I understand what a surety bond is, but so
It guarantees the people that you do business with, they are more open to doing business with you because they know that they can get their money back if it goes wrong. If they have a project or something and you don't do what you're supposed to do.
Can you give me like an
At least
example of that?
At least 100,000.
Can you give me an example, like when you say people you're doing business with? Give me an example.
Well, okay. Say you contract with somebody to come in at the city down here or not to park or something and have a pavilion built, which we're talking about. Okay, if they do the work and then we say it's not any good, we don't like it or something like that, and it doesn't meet our standards, and if they sue us and they win it, there you go.
Yes, sir.
We have a $100,000 bond, surety bond with the city, it's called a performance bond. And we have to pay a fee to have that bond and that protection. Because if for some reason we went out of business, you would still be able to get the money from them, and I guess they're gonna come after us, whoever's around, so that's a good example. You asked for an example.
Yeah.
We have a
Just-
performance bond. It was requested in the RFP that we provide that. Because there's some companies, some trash companies that can't be bonded because they have a taxation. So, and any bonding company will find that out.
Well, my only, the surety bond, I looked it up and I understand the majority of it, but my deal is like if you hire a contractor, like, I'm gonna hire a contractor to do something. I'm not gonna hire a contractor that doesn't have their own surety bond.
Yeah.
To make sure that, if it's not done properly, I'm gonna get paid. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand the
Well, if
reason
Randy
for
does
having-
something wrong, okay, if he does something wrong, makes a mistake, does something wrong, okay, and we're sued, then also, well, if that person, if you're guaranteed that they're gonna get money, and a surety company will pay it, they're gonna come right around and subrogate against Randy.
Okay.
It's just a guarantee, that's all it is a guarantee that we're gonna do our business, whatever.
Right,
Above board
okay,
tax, yeah.
okay. I just want to make sure I understood it properly. I mean, I read up on it and looked at it. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Is there anything else?
And it's $647.50
I
for
believe
2
that's
years?
For 2 years.
Or something like that?
2 years,
For 2 years?
term. 2 year
Okay,
term.
okay.
We had the paperwork, it was just the other one.
Yeah, I know. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Carroll. So I make a motion that the EDC is able to, take out the surety bond.
I have a motion from Cindy. I'll second. A second from Dawn. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Okay, 7.2, review discussion possible action to approve signage, fee for senior. We went back and looked, and this was already approved in, December. They just now got around to doing the sign, so we'll just bypass this one. Move on to 7.3, review discussion, for EDC's use of tips.
Yes, Mr. Rick Alden is here, these are the tips. He can answer your questions, this is a different business model than what we've been taking before we move forward.
Thank y'all for the opportunity to come present TIPS. TIPS is their local purchasing system that's run out of the Region 8 Education Service Center in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of different purchasing co-ops out there. We're one that's local. In Texas right now, the magic number is $50,000. if you do a one-time purchase that goes over 50,000 or multiple purchases from the same category, then you're required by law to advertise in the paper, wait a couple of weeks, advertise again, wait a couple of weeks, and then hopefully you get some bids. With purchasing co-op like TIPS, all of that has been done. We currently have about 160 something different categories, contract categories, everything from pens and paper and toilet paper to reconstructions, remodels, and additions, and everything in between. And to be an awarded vendor with TIPS, right now I think we have close to 5,000 awarded vendors nationwide. I have a lot of local vendors, and what the benefit is it allows you to speed up a project. I mean, if you had a proposal tonight from a TIPS vendor that you got last week and you approved it, they could start. Instead of going through the advertising process, all of that has been done. And it's a pretty strenuous process to become an awarded vendor. You know, we have a lawyer that writes these, the request for proposals. It's advertised in the Pittsburgh, Texas paper and the USA Today to get national coverage. Just like if you were to advertise in the local paper, you do it, wait a couple of weeks, advertise, and again, hope someone sees it. In each category, we're a multiple awarded vendor in those categories, and so you've got a choice in there. And you know, like I said, it saves you the time, saves you some money. If you had one vendor that you wanted to use all the time, you could use them. I don't recommend that. In this case, I talked to Mr. Dudley and Mr. Hodges that you could, you know, about the park project, I think I sent y'all 5 different vendors, I think's what it was. You know, and it's up to them and you, if you use one of them or any of them. But it does speed up the process. And most of our contracts are 2%, which means that if it's, you know, $100, that vendor's gonna pay TIPS $2. The City of Lone Star and the EDC are both members. There's no cost to be a member to sign up. And if you get in and never use it, you're not out a dime. And like I said, the city and the EDC are both already members. So,
So you're a lot like Buy Board.
only better.
I deal with Buy Board.
And I tell people that, you know, seriously, they are one of our big competitors, I guess. And I tell people, be a part of different co-ops. You know, you check, you may get a better price one or the other. The reason I say we're better is, like I said, we're in Pittsburgh, Texas. I'm in Hughes Springs, Texas. You know, I'm not a salesperson. As some of you probably picked up already. I'm a school person. I spent 34 years over at Hughes Springs ISD, the last 9.5 as superintendent, and know the pitfalls of the purchasing. As a superintendent, we had a finding in the audit one time for janitorial and custodial supplies. Through the year, the price had gone up. We hadn't advertised. Auditor come in, and you know, we had a finding. Nobody wants a finding in their audit. So you get that assurance that these vendors, I mean, they've gone through a strenuous process. You talk about the bonding. They all have to show a $100,000 capability. We don't make them have it. We just have to have that letter showing that they can get up to that. We've got some that have $7, $8, $10 million worth of bonding capacity. You know, whether you get that, which I would recommend to be up to y'all, you know, when you do a deal, you know, of any significance. But it's a strenuous process for them to become an awarded vendor. References are checked, make sure they have the bonding capacity. They have to, you know, I get vendors complaining to me all the time, why do we have to do this? Well, it's because of the procurement laws. If you deal with that.
I'm on the vendor side at my day job, so yeah, it's a pain.
Yeah, are you familiar with tips of applying?
Yes.
And I mean, it's not the easiest process, you know, because we want vendors on there that are going to be good to work with, reputable, do you a good job. You know, our name is behind that also. You know, so if it's tips, and it doesn't guarantee there's not going to be a problem, but if there is a problem, tips will try to intervene and help. We've had a couple where we've pulled contracts because of complaints. We've had some where our attorney would say, do you want us to proceed with this, or do you want to work it out? Stephen F. Austin is a member. And they said, we'll work it out with the vendor. And they reached an agreement to get it going. So the vendors don't want to lose their contracts. So, you know, like I said, the benefits, you know, and I'm a school person. You know, I spent 34 years up the road, had a lot of opportunity to upset people, not on purpose. You know, and I look at this to help the members. You know, and if I can help the members, that's helping the vendors. You know, try to get local people. You know, if you call me needed whatever, you know, new cars, I'll get you 3, 4, 5 vendors within this area. You know, you get your quotes, and like I said, it speeds up the process, saves you time. They've been vetted, they've been checked.
So you just you just match us with the vendors for what we need, right? So we still do our own contracts.
Yes, you can get your own vendors, or I get calls all the time, Rick, I'm looking for vendors for this. I had Texarkana the other day, their facilities director, they were working on their indoor swimming pool. He said, I need some vendors, I've got some work done. I said, give me just a little bit and I'll have you 3 vendors that I sent to him. He
Now, is
contacts
there any
them.
liability on you that you would take if I said, hey, I need a vendor for this, and you handed me one that you said you've already done your due diligence on, and then they don't perform as,
Ultimately, I mean, we would try to intervene, but ultimately it's between the member and the vendor. You know, it's like the deal at SFA. You know, if they'd have gone after, it was a window tint company, which is a big deal now. You know, if they'd have gone after them, you know, they'd have been suing the company. You know, and if you do big projects, there's a good chance something's gonna happen. But we want those to be as smooth as possible, because like I said, our name is behind there. You know, and where does the money go that TIPS makes? You know, there's always money involved. The vendor pays a fee, but we give reward checks to the members, depending on their spend level and what the vendors have paid. The schools get reward checks also, and also in Region 8, well, in all the service centers, there's 20 different regions in Texas, but all the schools pay for services from the service center, whether it's school board training, whether it's science, it's math, you know, special needs. I mean, it's a wide range of services. So they pay the service center for those services. TIPS gives back 10% of their contract book to the school. So if Dangerfield Lone Star pays $100,000 to Region 8 for their services, TIPS pays $10,000 of that. So a lot of that money, well, all the money stays here. It's not going off the buy board. I couldn't tell you where it goes.
and there's
So-
no fee with you unless we do contract a vendor
Yeah,
for
and the
you,
vendor
that's
pays,
2% of
the
those.
vendor pays the so, like I said, I'm not a single person. You know, this is my second life, and I thoroughly enjoy doing what I do. Opportunity to help members, you know, save you some time, save you some money. Can't guarantee you that it's always the cheapest. Again, that's up to you. But, you know, we make every effort, you know, to make sure you get a good product from a good vendor, because they want the next job through TIPS. So, questions or comments?
We have a
So,
vendor that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. So you sort through the vendors, so we have some requirements that require us to get the 3 bids, but you meet those guidelines because you've already had these vendors bid on certain
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
so that
if
you've
they're
already
on
had
our
that.
vendor list, they've been approved.
Yeah.
And you can go get your own vendors, but sometimes it's hard to find ones if you're not familiar with the website. So on our website, we don't have by zip code or so many miles, you know, so that's where, you know, in fact, that's where Mr. Dudley and Mr. Hodges, hey, you know, we're looking for some companies. We gave them one out of Marshall, one out of Mount Pleasant. One, the guy's actually out of Oklahoma, but he does a lot of work in East Texas. One out of Dallas. You know, so I try to find as many, you know, local. If you can't find them, you know, that's why I'm here. Like I said, my whole job is to try to make your job easier. And, you know, on this particular project, I was at the EDC meeting the other night. You know, what they're talking about is maybe doing it in phases, you know, as the money is available. You know, and something else, you know, if you were to do it independently, you'd advertise, probably have to get you an architect to draw your plans. Then they're gonna have the engineer stamp it. These companies will design, you know, what you're looking for. They work with engineers that could stamp that, and all that's included in their cost. So you don't have to go out and find someone, you know, to draw you the plan. get an engineer to stamp to make sure you're gonna be ADA compliant. Anybody ever dealt with ADA on testing, checking buildings? I mean, they come in with the tape measure and the level, and at school in Hugh Springs, we had to move the toilet like an inch or something, because there wasn't enough space in between the walls. So you want all that done right, the first time. So, any questions?
If we have a vendor that we've worked with and we reach out to them on a project and then we reach out to you as well, and you return us a vendor that we've already spoken with, do we still pay the 2%?
If it's run through tips, yeah.
But we don't pay it, the vendor
Yeah,
does.
the vendor pay.
Well, but ultimately,
But they're gonna
we pay
charge
it.
us, but
They
yeah.
just mark it up.
And the thing, a lot of the vendors will offer a discount. Not all of them, but a lot of them will. I think, was it you said that y'all had spoken to one that works with the, tries to keep the cost down, or was that Mr. Dudley?
No, LCC.
Okay. And also if you've got one that's not a tips vendor, we can do what's called an assignment of contract, where they would work under someone else's contract, pay them a small fee, to have them compliant, which is totally legal, so.
Seems like a no-brainer to me.
Any questions that I didn't answer or may have caused some question?
I can't hear anything. I don't know why you're whispering. Trying to be all secretive, and I'm like, what are you, sign language or something?
Everything from up here speaks public anyway.
Y'all have any more questions for us?
Thank y'all, this is the first board meeting I've got to be in a while, so.
Hopefully we're entertaining enough for you.
Working in school and having board meetings.
Right.
I make a motion that let EDC use the tips.
We have a motion from Cindy.
Mayor, may I say something?
Yes.
Council, the intent of this is to ensure that we have quality work designed by engineers. We have a legal foundation under it to ensure that we don't end up in a lawsuit. These firms he talks about have already been examined and vetted for top quality work, efficiency. The intent is to give the taxpayers who've entrusted us those funds the best product we can deliver. And albeit that in our new bylaws, if we're going to have audits, I don't want a single infraction to occur. I want you to have confidence that we're doing this properly.
Can I say one other thing? One thing that I didn't mention, when a contract, y'all sign an agreement, a contract, or a PO, it's sent to the TIPS office, and it's checked for price and compliance to make sure that it meets that contractor's, or that vendor's contract, and then you get a compliance letter back to put with your documents. That way, when you are audited, you got that it was run through TIPS, it's checked, everything was compliant.
Thank you. All right. Motion from Cindy, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Lisa. All in favor? All against?
I'm not voting.
So it's a 2-1 and a no vote, so. Carries, right?
I believe it's 2-1, so.
Yep, okay, motion carries. 7.4, review discussion possible action on fire department policies on extracurricular activities at the fire hall.
I'll address it. I had this put on the agenda. I'll address it. So a couple weeks ago, I was on my lunch break. I ran home, and when I left home, I was running up to City Hall so I could talk to Cindy and Corey. And there were children everywhere, running across the street, back and forth. I almost ran one over, a little child, and I wasn't speeding, but there were children crossing from here to a private property across the street. And I went in, finally got parked. I went in, talked to Cindy, said, what's going on? And she said it was a homeschool thing, and she had already ran them out of the parking lot because they were playing football in our parking lot. And I told Cindy then, it's a liability for the city, with kids everywhere. We have a fire department. If there's an emergency and they gotta take off and shoot out of here, a kid gets ran over, we're at fault. A kid falls down, busts her head open, city property, we're at fault. The police need to take off and get out of here, kid gets ran over, we're at fault. I truly support homeschool, and on my way out, I stopped and talked to the lady that was blocking the road where people couldn't go on my way out, and told her, hey, I respect what you do, but this is a liability, and I'm not for it. I'm for homeschool, but not here. I think you guys have to find a better place to have your homeschool meetings that's not here for liability purposes. Because God forbid, the fire trucks, there's an emergency, whatever, EMS call, jump in a truck and run over a kid, oh my God, that would be the worst case scenario ever. And then I know there was a birthday party for your granddaughter that had been approved without, none of this was brought to council. It was approved as someone who no longer works here, and we had no knowledge of it. And thank you guys for signing the waiver, because we didn't want to ruin a little kid's birthday party, so we let it happen.
You're welcome.
What? You're welcome. But again, it's a liability, and that's not something we, in my opinion, as a city need to be exposed to. So, like I say, I 100% support homeschool. I'm all about it. I did mine for a little bit. I get it. I just don't think it should happen here.
If you're good with a waiver for a...
No, I did a one-time waiver as to not ruin a little girl's birthday party.
Okay.
That was it. Because I wanted to say no.
I'm just trying to...
Right, and I get it, but I'm just saying, we had to do something because it was already here, and there was bounce houses ordered to be delivered here. And when it was brought to our attention, it was like that day. We did that as a one-time thing. And then I said I wanted to put on council, because it's something I'm not comfortable with. I don't know how my fellow councilmen feel, but I'm worried about it being a liability for the city.
Okay.
And no, I'm not gonna say, yes, we'll sign a waiver every time. Absolutely not. Kids running across the street and somebody else's private property, what if they'd have got hurt on Mr. Royce's property and then someone tried to sue Mr. Royce and he wasn't even aware they were on his property? And a lady can't stand in the middle of the road and be like, don't drive through here because we got kids crossing. We can't do that.
Okay.
You know?
Here's my deal.
Go ahead.
We can do, the waiver is for the inside of this building. Is the intent of the waiver. It's for the inside of this building. If you have a problem with the outside, that can be handled by her, just not allow the kids to be roaming free outside.
What if they get hurt in this building?
The purpose of the waiver.
I personally don't believe they should have homeschool
You're
here.
taking a risk tonight.
Sure. These are adults.
We're
Some
also
of children.
conducting city business.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do realize that you put us in control of over $500,000 worth of equipment that we run down this highway at 75 miles per hour plus on a daily basis and put our lives on the line. And this building was built by this fire department. It was absorbed by this city. Okay? I see no proof of sale of this building. I see nothing where we have nothing where this department ever voted to allow the city to take it over. So this should be part of the ability of this department to use in discretion. If you can trust me to allow, to schedule out and allow all these vehicles to run and do what I need to do, why can't you trust me with a room at my discretion with a waiver?
I think too.
Go ahead, Bree.
I don't know
Go
how
ahead,
the
Bree.
transition happened where the city absorbed the fire department, but you are an extension of the city, which does make anything that happens outside of this a liability for the city. And if the kid is outside and our public works employee, God forbid, backs over one of those kids because they walked outside, I think it is a complete liability, 110%. And I mean, there's churches that have kid-friendly centers and areas that might be better for homeschooling. I don't think that here, seeing these guys go in and out 100 times, and police officers jump in their vehicle and taking off, I don't think that here is a reasonable accommodation for kids.
We are not an event center for non-city related events. And we have a park where things can be done. Also, I believe that the elderly center.
The Senior Citizen
Yeah,
Center.
Senior Citizen Center has advertised them as an event center that can be rented for those purposes. And I would hope they have the insurance in place for that. I don't think non-citizen or non-city related events need to be happening in this building.
May I speak?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
I'm Teresa Smith. I've been the secretary on this fire department for 8 years now. I've been involved with the department for 13 years. That we have always had different activities that have happened in this place when there was not other things going on in the city. That there's never been a problem. If the issue was this one time, because we've had multiple classes here, and that was the first time we've ever had any outside interaction with the kids that caused a problem. It was addressed immediately, the kids were brought in, and the issue was addressed with the parents. Because originally the parents were told, we need to just stay inside so that we're not interrupting. But I, as a mother, can't tell you as a mother, or you, how to tend to your child outside of whatever. And this was during our lunch break. It was like a 15-minute space.
How long have these classes been going on over here?
I think we've had 3 here now, but it's 2 Fridays a month. I have always, in the last 13 years, only ever had to have permission from the fire chief for any event, and we would usually interact with whoever was working at the city. Hey, do you have something going on at this time? This is what what the plan is. We always clean up. We always watch whoever it is to make sure of the safety, because we don't want to incur any problems. But one of my questions is there a difference between something happening to a kid on this city property versus something happening to a kid at the city park that is city property?
Yes.
As far as liability,
Yes, there is.
what's the difference?
We manage this building, and which would put us at a higher level of responsibility, whereas a park is a public space where the parent has the obligation to maintain the children, and if they hurt themselves, it's very unlikely you could win a lawsuit against the city in a park.
Unless it was faulty equipment, which I can't.
Even then, it's really difficult to win a lawsuit against the city.
So if it comes to just, it's like it's a 4-hour class, 1 or 2 Fridays a month. if we were confined to this room and there was no longer an outside issue, what would be the problem with us meeting in this area if we were no longer creating, I'm trying to find the correct words without coming across in the wrong way, a disturbance? Because there has been weddings held here, multiple birthday parties, family reunions, graduation parties.
None of us know this.
Fundraiser.
None of us know this, that's
We
part of
didn't
it.
know,
been
and
city
never
parties.
condoned it. So, and now,
What about when the city threw the Christmas parties here for the kids to come and get gifts and
it's a
see
city
Santa?
event. The difference is it's a city event rather than unrelated to the city. And understand, I homeschooled all three of my children, so I'm great at homeschooling. I just think this may not be the right venue for that, because we're not a venue, we're not an event center.
My biggest worry with it, I mean, and Chris and I had actually spoke about it, and I see both sides. I really do. Not everybody can afford to rent a place to do stuff like that. And I had forgotten, because Dawn and I also spoke about it. My biggest worry is the emergency vehicles that have to come in and out of here, and being able to get in and out of here with kids, and this and that. And if they're inside the building, I mean, if they get hurt, just like you said, you can't tell another mother how to whatever with their child.
Mhm.
And if they get a child and you're in there rambunctious or whatever, and they
Turn on
hit
the
the
gas
corner of
stove,
that
there's
the gas stove, the whatever, or hits the corner of that thing, busts their head open, the city is liable for that. Because it wasn't, like a city event gets put out there, on the website, on the paper, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's not an approved event. They turn this stove on, blow their building up,
Part of it for me is this door stays locked, and not just anybody can gain access. And what if I wanted to have my family here?
That is not true. I can tell, there's been many times that I've come up here to do fire department secretary stuff, and that door has been unlocked,
It's supposed to be
and
locked.
nobody in here.
Right, it's supposed to be locked.
Three city council meetings back, this council, when they had control of this building, left that door unlocked.
Well, 3 city council meetings back, we had a secretary that was supposed to lock it.
Yeah.
That was their job, not ours.
None of us had.
And that's
keys.
part
I
of
didn't even
it,
have
no
keys
longer
until
here.
after we got my child, so.
You don't have to have a key.
You press the button.
I don't even know.
You just press the button to lock it.
I don't even know what locks in there.
Anyway. I think it's a liability, but I think if there was a fire department member that wanted to get married in here or something, I think at that point you could bring that to council and we could make like one-off exceptions for things of that nature. However, hosting a homeschool program with majority of minor kids, I think is a liability, but that's up to the council.
So it's not even up for discussion for there to be a waiver for inside the building?
Oh, we're discussing it now.
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yeah, this is the discussion.
Any other input?
I just think it's kind of a slap in the fire department's face. I'll put it to you that way. As much as we do for this city, as much as I've done in this building and haven't been paid a cent other than $100 a month, but I've still yet, it's not due to see yet. But I have more than a full-time job worth of time in this building.
We appreciate your service.
And it's not that we don't appreciate you guys at all, but I don't even know how many of these kids are y'all's kids versus just kids that, like citizens' kids, and if a kid comes through here and knocks that gas stove handle and the gas is running in here, I'm just saying, I have 3 kids at home. I see the potential of something happening. It's nothing against y'all. Y'all are appreciated more than you know, but I would rather be proactive and get ahead of the possibility of something happening than something happen and eat crow later. I didn't know any of this was going on.
I think that's part of it is, until this was just brought up 10 minutes ago, I wasn't aware of anything.
No, I just found out.
And
So as parents, if you're in a public space and something happens to your child, you're gonna sue the city?
There are some
whoever
cases.
else?
Common sense tells you
can.
no, but everybody sues.
Somebody
You drink hot
sued.
coffee at McDonald's now,
There you
people
go.
sue.
That was
This is not
example.
about
That-
space. That
That's
is
why
the
I'm
thing.
asking about the waiver. The parents that are involved, because it is me and my son that are involved with this very small co-op group. Like the entirety of it is 25 people, adults included. None of the moms have a problem signing a waiver saying that we accept full responsibility for our children and whatever happens. I'm asking for the ability to have a waiver to sign just to use for, because it's 2 Fridays a month from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the mothers are always in the same area where their children are.
And how many kids are there?
There's roughly 25 of us total, counting the adults.
How many parents are with their kids is what I'm asking.
Oh, they're.
So all the parents stay with their kids? Majority of them
Yes,
drop them off?
no kids are dropped off, period. Every child that is here has a parent in the space.
So how did that happen last Friday or Friday before when they're out running around?
There were like 4 parents outside and a bunch of kids. Because the 4 parents that I saw, one was in the middle of the street and 3 were on the side. I don't know where the rest of the parents were. They weren't out there.
You're correct. There were several moms in here that were talking. I apologize, my kid was one of them under the supervision of another mother. I was under the impression that they were in the grass. I did not know until it was brought to my attention that they were even venturing into the road.
So you have to
Or
understand,
the other property.
there's been 3 classes, one of which there was issues, and by the grace of
Only
God,
one.
one of the emergency vehicles didn't have to take off at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
So out of 3 classes, it was already an issue. That's the only thing.
Would another building be an option for you guys? Because I have access to a training center.
Is there
And
a cost?
it's not even here. It's on a secured property. It's locked behind a gate, and it's got pretty good couple of acreage around the building. It's just an old beat up building.
I'm open to that. Our problem was the place that we were at before, there was a conflict of interest with the family that was providing that space. And then the places that we looked at, the fundage was not there because we pay $15 a month to be part of this co-op to teach our kids extra things. And we don't have the fundage to go pay for a community center. Like we tried several places in Hugh Springs, they wanted $75 to $100 every class.
I'm not charging you anything.
And-
All you gotta do is get the key from me, go in there, use the building, bring the key back.
Okay, I'm
And
open to.
and I wanna say the building's probably bigger than this.
I appreciate
It's an old
that.
beat up building, it's got electricity, it doesn't have running water.
And it's not controlled
Might
by
have
the
to use
city.
the bathroom.
No,
That was my concern was there even a possibility for?
I was
an
thinking
open-
that or this senior citizen center. I don't know. Randy, do you? Twice a month
That
for
would
4
be up
hours?
to the board to determine what the cost would be. I'll check into it for you.
And you know, because it's homeschool, you could ask them to waive the fee for you.
Right.
I think that's a better situated area for you guys to have a class. I really do.
I would
Instead of
ask them to
here.
waive the fee because it's not that we don't want you doing it or
Yeah,
don't appreciate
because
what you're doing.
I
It's just-
respect homeschool. I promise you I do. I get it. I just don't think it should be here.
So on another note, does that mean that anything that goes on at this fire department is gonna have to be put before the city council and ask permission for?
Well, I mean, not like the fish fries are majority, those are known things. I would-
City events, if it's related
That's
to
a
the
city
city, then I
event.
think, like, the fire department having a training here, of course you would have to as a fire department, because you're part of the city and it's a city event. I think the difference is, it was a wholly unrelated event.
Weddings, birthday
Utilizing
parties.
city property. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
But what she's wanting to know is a non-city related event, if it was to come up and be put to my attention as the fire chief, would I not have the ability to approve and issue waivers?
Like what? Like I did an example of this event.
So one of the examples is, my homeschool group had asked if the fire department could put on a fire station tour and a fire prevention class for our homeschool group. Is that gonna be an issue?
I would consider that a city event. It probably should be notified to council ahead of time.
Okay,
But then
let
it's
me
our fire
notify you
department.
now. It has been asked if we can do it on April the 4th. So is that a possibility? I mean, because it was never an issue before of using the fire department.
Is that on a weekend?
It's a Friday, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon.
I don't have a problem with it. If it's a city-related event, such as an outreach from the fire department to help and educate children, I'm good with that. But if it's completely unrelated to the city, then I don't think it's a good deal. I don't think it's a proper use of taxpayer building.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I mean, Chris, we gotta use common sense here. I mean, some of those things like that, I mean, like he said, where it's an outreach from the fire department, I have no problem with that. Obviously, don't let them run across the parking lot, please. But anything going forward, I mean, you just come ask, come call me, or just.
I just don't want it to have to wait till it hits an agenda point.
Right.
And have to get pushed.
If it's something that big, I'll be like.
Where I have to play, mommy may I, and have to have a month-long outlook for something. That's my deal. I mean, if you can trust me to run this stuff, I would think that I have enough faith built within this that could be, taken, that I would have enough purview to do so.
If somebody's having a wedding, you're going to bring it before council. Small stuff like that, and definitely city-related stuff like the whatever. No, I'll bring it. I mean, if you can't contact her, come and ask me or holler at me, and I'll
As long as we're not having to go the full spill, yes.
And I know he's no longer a part of the city of Lone Star, but I did go to Kyle about
We know he did.
because
He just never made it to us at all.
He
Nobody's
should have came to
accusing you.
us.
It's just that I'm blindsided,
Yep.
not having known that any of this was going on.
And I only know because I couldn't get down the road.
Right.
Well, and next time that Chris comes and asks me stuff, and I tell him, I'm like, I've got to call Brianna on that. I mean, and so that's what Kyle should have done. He should have immediately contacted her.
That's been kind of the Achilles heel of everything. Like everything, a lot of things that I thought I handled through Kyle, that I thought was getting handled through y'all, apparently never went beyond that desk. In fact, I didn't realize that Kyle was never even supposed to be involved in any of my business to begin with. And I wasn't supposed to be going through him on every damn thing.
Now you know.
Yeah, I've had to turn over on a lot of stuff because of that.
You're not the only
Cities
one.
have gone through a lot of growing pains.
Yeah.
And I promise, we do greatly appreciate all the work that y'all do.
Yeah.
I see y'all up here, and we do appreciate y'all.
We have to protect the city.
What was the date for that event you wanted to do with the
April
children?
4th.
April 4th.
Community centers and stuff like that, they actually take out insurance policies just for stuff like that.
I make
We
a
don't
motion
have
I make a
I'm sorry.
motion that we allow the April 4th outreach event with the fire department and the children to utilize this space indoors
That's not on the agenda. What
The
about
agenda
others?
item is to discuss
Right.
extracurricular
Can you
activity and those things.
elaborate a little further with your
Okay.
motion on covering us the rest of the way? On the other items?
A second motion can be made on the same agenda item. I'm not sure that one is necessary because our voice has been, a statement's been made. I don't know that we need to put a motion on it. That's my opinion. They understand now how we, the council, feel. And I don't know that it needs to be an official motion. But you're welcome to make one if you want.
Okay, we have a motion from Keith to allow the April 4th event.
I'll second that.
Second from Lisa, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion carries.
And anybody that wants to make a motion on actually codifying everything that we've said here, they can do that, but I don't know that it's necessary. I just think we know it's policy moving forward that that's not what we really want to do.
Okay, I'll vote that.
I'm not the boss though.
No, I'm just saying, I'll follow true with you.
All right, well, we'll move on to 7.5. Review discussion and possible action on recorded phone lines in the police
I
department.
appreciate that.
But no more homeschools.
Ernest,
Or birthday parties.
review discussion and possible action on recorded phone lines in the police department.
We recorded phone lines. We get people calling in, they'll tell us something. It can be considered evidence critical to the case, or we get people calling complaints. They don't want to give their names. We need recorded phone lines. It's just another matter of record keeping.
Does our phone service provide that as an option?
I don't know.
I was gonna say.
I know they just got, I didn't even know there's something, I didn't even put this in the but I know it was just, how did something before that?
Did what? Sorry.
They did something with the phones, they renewed the phones, or I have no idea what happened.
So we have a contract with eText. These are voice over IP systems, and a lot of voice over IP systems can record phone calls.
Okay.
I don't know if they have worked towards making that capability in their system. I think we should reach out to
Is that,
eText.
what's the name of the company?
ETX.
ETX.
I'm sorry.
ETEX.
ETEX.
And they're out of Gilmer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I can do that, yeah.
And honestly, I would love all of our phone calls to be recorded. I record every one of my own personal phone calls.
Yeah.
And work.
Cool.
It'll save your hide more than.
Yeah.
It's necessary.
Yep.
Very necessary.
Awesome.
So do we need a motion on that or?
No. Okay, 7.6, review discussion and possible action on purchasing AEDs.
Wait a minute.
You know what, I'm here, let's go for it. So the AED is a lot of times, and Chris can tell you, we get there before the ambulance do, the firefighters do. And if somebody's needs to get shot with defib or something like that, having a heart attack, those minutes count. You put them in the car, it's a little machine about this big, put it on them right quick, it shocks them, so better help when it gets there.
Do you think 2 of them would be enough to swap between cars or whoever's on duty? Or?
Yeah, it's better than that.
Okay. Well, it's my opinion that you should have those, but I also believe there should be one hung in this room and one over in the other building as permanent on the wall.
Absolutely.
We can wait on Brianna to come back, or we can.
And just a curiosity question,
Yes,
is there any kind of training for using these involved?
So, now, I believe the number I saw was like $570.
I don't know. For the.
545.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 and some change. 5 and some change, 5 and some change, but also.
So these are
I'm just
meant.
making sure that,
I think it's what he's saying, like that's for each one though.
And as far as training on them, the device itself voice prompts and tells you exactly what to do.
It's meant for public spaces where you
It's
go
meant,
and you.
it's meant for general public. You open it up as soon as you hit the power button, or some of them as soon as you click the lid on it. It tells you grab this patch, it has a picture of where to stick the patch. It starts monitoring. It does everything. It tells you when to step back so that you're not running.
Yeah, you'll hear it is.
Right, and it won't shock until it's detected you've done all the right things.
Yeah.
It waits 30 seconds. So
yeah, I know, I'm just making sure if we are so watchful of our liabilities on everything else, then this is something else that I just wanted to make sure about our liabilities on this also.
Actually, it's kind of taking our liability away, because I think you might be able to get sued
So-
if something that goes down here,
Mhm.
but we don't have one.
And we don't have the,
Would
yes,
this come
I
out
agree.
of police funds as a lease expenditure? In their budget, where is this gonna come out of the budget?
Well, it would have to come in, police. Cody, are we talking about buying?
Well, I was gonna make the motion, and I want them to have two of them that they put in whatever, who's ever on duty takes it in their vehicle, and then I also want one in this room and one over in the city hall. So I was gonna make a motion for 4, but I needed to know where the budgets were, how to make a motion.
We would also need them for response vehicles too, because I mean, we're first on auto accidents and everything else. We originally had basically one per service vehicle out there. It's just they've reached end of life on batteries and stuff like that. And I think these were originally acquired probably from US Steel.
The ones that are in the office were from US Steel and they needed a lot of maintenance.
That's what
They're
I did
for like 5 years.
Right, well-
The battery dies, you can replace the battery.
Right, I did the pricing and all the research on that, and by the time I was to buy new batteries and new patches to make sure that the patches were still good, I was at the cost of a reconditioned one that has already also been checked. Yes, I can put a new battery and new patches on these, but is it worth the risk when I could pay $20 more and they have tested it?
Chris, so the 5 that needs to be worked on or fixed, those are old ones? Or I thought, from my understanding, y'all had 5 that was only like a year old or a year and a half old that need to be maintenance?
Right, but that's what I'm saying. By the time I do the battery on it, and by the time I do a fresh set of patches on them, I'm at the cost of a unit.
Do you know how old they are?
So
You
I
said
have
US
to
Steel,
look.
so that, I mean, is it 10 years or 3 years? I mean, what are we talking?
Well, we were just
They all
talking
had
about
some
ones
age-
that,
They all had some age to them.
So
I mean,
the
the
ones-
bags that they came in have disintegrated in the base bag.
so the 5 I'm talking about, those aren't like recently new, like a year and a half,
No.
2 years?
5, where are we getting the 5 from?
Jerry had wrote down that there was 5, that they had 5.
Yeah,
They
we're
just
in
need to be worked on.
possession of 5, and I mean, I can, from the dates that we have on batteries back there, they're in excess of at least 5 years just in batteries that we have bought for them up to this point.
Yeah, usually they're certified for 5 or 7 years.
Right.
I mean, we could get new batteries, but,
Like I said, by the time,
But if they're
in
not
all honesty,
certified.
by the time I get a name brand battery for these, I'm at the price of a reconditioned unit.
I just wanna make sure these wasn't like just a couple years old, because I was gonna say, if these are
No,
only
we-
a couple years old and
no,
they're
they-
already down, then.
These
what
have
are
been
these
through several iterations of batteries up to
Yeah,
this
okay.
point.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
So PD needs 2, and then how many does fire department need?
It would be, we have 4 frontline trucks plus a command. The command also runs all first responder calls.
So that'd be 5?
I don't know that they
Would that be
you would
5
need one in
total,
every vehicle if you
Chris?
had them here to take when you go. I guess so.
There are times that there's multiple trucks in different locations.
Yes, I'm thinking 2 is what I was thinking. For the fire, 2 for the police and 2 for these buildings. But that would be out of 3 different budgets.
Just a minor point, most of the fire department and several members of the police department just completed a certification course in the use of.
But the beauty of these devices is you don't need to be certified. Anybody who's never picked one up. should be
Yeah,
able to run it.
we did the CPR, we all got CPR certified.
Okay, so I'm gonna give a little bit of room on this to say, I make a motion that we purchase 6 units, up to $700. That gives a little bit of wiggle room for shipping and all that stuff. Each, 2 fire department, 2 police, and 2 for these buildings to be permanently mounted on the wall, and for it to come out of their department budgets. general fund for the building ones.
A motion from Keith.
I would say we're paying for it, don't take it out of my budget.
Do I?
If we're gonna be asked to pay for it, don't take it out of my budget.
You're gonna use the money
So
you
you
got
don't
from the
want
county?
I'll need that money for functionality of this building. I've got a grant.
Right.
If I'm being expected to pay for it, I would rather it come off of my grant instead of my operating out of my funds within the department.
I was just aware that you guys have bought a truck recently. You had a big influx of cash from the commissioner's court, and I would assume it can come out of some of that. But and what part of your budget I'm not that concerned about. If you can get it through a grant, I'm good with that.
No, I'm just saying that I would rather leave me more of a safety net on my operational funds over there, and this just become a grant item for within the department than it's at
So
my
you'll
personal.
handle.
So remove
purchasing
yours
of
from this?
You wanna
Yes.
amend your,
Okay.
So.
The one for the building, yes, but as far as what we
that's
do,
general, yeah.
Right, that's
yeah,
general
as
fund.
far as what we're gonna do, we'll handle us.
So do we need to approve for them to purchase some?
They'll have to come back
or-
to us in the future
They'll
whenever
come
they
back?
come up, unless they're spending it out of their general budget for equipment,
Right.
then they wouldn't have to come to us. But if they do it through a grant or something else, yes, they would have to come back.
Okay.
So I just amend mine to eliminate the fire department 2 units.
But I was gonna ask if you could repeat this.
So
Here.
two for the, Keith made a motion for
Well,
six.
Hey, Keith, are you under the impression we bought the military truck?
All I know is that my understanding is you got an influx of cash from Commissioner's Court and you purchased a new truck. Somebody went way out of state to pick it up and drive it back. And
No,
That's
that's
Casey.
Casey.
That was not,
That's
that was for a
Casey.
different
Okay,
part.
then I'm wrong on that, but
Okay.
Commissioner's Court still did granted some
Yes.
funds to each of the fire departments,
Yes.
volunteers. So that's,
Right.
I assumed you had some extra cash and I didn't want to
Right, but we're
saddle
also.
the rest of the citizens with that bill.
Just in future purview, we're also looking at, we may currently have a mechanically totaled truck right now. So,
So save your money.
yeah, well,
I was joking.
I know,
Not
I
really.
know,
I'm really
I know.
not joking, but.
No, I know. I know where you're coming from, but.
So his two that he doesn't want, if I got it in my budget, can I help?
If it's in your budget,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I'll take this too.
I've got to go in there and pull it to see where, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
If they can afford it, I'll take
inputting
it.
everything that wasn't inputted as we speak, so.
Right, and
discount?
my issue with the police budget is the most expensive part of our budget overall, and I don't want to just absorb more money in that. I'd like to leave my motion as it stands for now, and if you wanna come back and ask for another 2 after she's had time to look at your budget, that's fine. You good?
Compromise, I like it. So Keith's motion has been amended to 4 units, 2 out of police department budget and 2 out of general fund for the buildings. Right?
Yes. Up to 700 apiece, I think,
Yes.
that should cover it, because they were 545 or something like that.
I'll second that.
Second from Don. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jesus. Okay. 7.7, review, discussion, and possible action related to non-permanent structure being lived in, and safety concerns near 904 Wild Rose.
So I put this item on here per request of a citizen, and I'd like to open the floor up to him, if you agree with that, Madam Mayor.
I'm Patrick Reed. I live adjacent to that property, and half of what I'm going to tell you is y'all probably already know, and then I can tell you the other half of it too. The man living at that property, Kevin Ellison, had started shooting on it instantly as soon as he moved in there, and has continued up even until last month. Law enforcement hadn't been able to respond quick enough to do anything about it. He also kept a black and white pit on the property that steadily became more and more aggressive around. He let it roam free at will, tore everything up, started going after people, including me. No one really did anything up until about January of this year, and it bit my brother. When the owner was notified, he got ticketed, police responded, they did a very good job. he came back around within the following couple of days and not only was not apologetic about it, he sought to deny that anything had happened. You don't have any proof, is what he told me. And he sought to intimidate me by saying, watch yourself, paraphrasing, to kind of clean up the language there. In recent events, he's gotten more and more implicit on what he's going to say by saying, you know, I'm going to shoot you and your dog. I'm mad. Why? And he says, because cops killed my dog, I'm mad at you.
Yeah, how much is your dog worth?
She's purebred Malinois. She's probably worth a couple of $1,000s.
More than $1,500.
She, at the point he made that statement, she was at my feet on a leash on the front porch, and I didn't want to carry her out because he yelled from 2 blocks down the road. He yelled all the way until I came back past the house, and it seemed like he made that trip for that explicit purpose.
Do you live on Timberline?
Correct.
North.
Things are.
I want that dog.
No, you don't. A lot of work.
I know.
Things are getting very toxic around there, and I mean, hopefully something will happen legally. You know, if the right timing and circumstances and evidence can all happen at once, something's going to happen. But I'm asking civically to do something there. I mean, he has taken the privilege of flying under the radar with that camper and has sought to do nothing but harm all the way around. I've got people all the way down that block that have animals go missing. It seems like lately he's taking pot shots at chickens, and he's more mad about 2 chickens and his dog than he is about the safety of anybody around him.
Now, the property that the
RV is on?
When you say, is it RV? Okay. It's
Travel trailer?
non-permanent structure. Okay, camper. Anyways,
Camper.
is that his property?
It is not. It is his aunt's, Denise.
I mean, I'm just wondering.
Paulison. Family property.
What is the
Don't-
city's stance on travel trailers inside?
It's
against city
ordinance.
It's banned unless he has his own variance, which we have a couple of mobile homes that have variances. But other than that,
His own what?
some people have variances. The 2 mobile homes just down the street from you that have been there for 30+ years, those have a variance in the ordinance saying they're allowed.
Essentially grandfathered in? that
Yes,
one?
yes.
Okay.
Those are kind of built a little more to like live in permanently.
Sure.
Correct.
Right.
Exactly.
Not a
Ernest,
travel
did you bring the?
What would be your,
Oh, he's good.
why did you ask if it was over $1,500?
So the city ordinance is Class C, and I hate Class Cs because he'll be back out tomorrow. The 1,500 is a felony.
So you can handle this situation pretty quickly?
Well, that's after something terrible's already happened, I think, right? Are you saying you can handle it now, or only if
No,
his dog is
so
killed?
I took the report from him today. Mark will be dealing with him when he gets, I guess tomorrow or Monday. Want to go with him, we'll start it low, and if you move out right here, we'll start writing tickets, and we'll start every day, and he keeps acting out. He's gonna be a visitor at Morgantown.
So can you read the ordinance on campers inside the city limits so that everybody knows?
It shall be, it says, 3.2, I think it's 181, I think it is. And section 3.2, it shall be unlawful for any person to locate and maintain for dwelling or sleeping purpose any mobile home or travel trailer in any place in the city of Lone Star other than a duly licensed mobile home park or travel trailer park, unless permission is granted by the city council in a regular session. And I don't think that's happened,
So you're
This
gonna
hasn't been
start
2
with
weeks. This has been
the
more in the
city
neighborhood
ordinance
of 2
sign and get them on
years.
the housing thing, but my thing is, if this gets posted publicly, which it will, and he happens to see it, and he knows this conversation happened,
No, I'm
in
going
the
to see him in the
meantime,
morning.
we have retaliation, right?
He'll see me before he see this online. So he knows, when he comes in here, he never says anything till he goes back over there and bothers this guy. He never says anything. He's seen me multiple times. I'm the one that shot his dog.
Yeah.
And his dog got shot because he released it after I told him to quarantine it. And he released the dog on me. So.
prior to then, I mean, I was working on the other side of my fence tying wire, and the dog, while it was going off at me, he yelled, "Go get him." Dog wasn't even on his property at that point. To show his kind of sentiment here. Just absolute disregard for anybody's safety.
Well, I was unaware, so I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. So I had.
That's the one.
You feel confident that this is gonna be handled in a way that keeps his family safe and takes care of the issue? Does that satisfy you at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if he, for some reason, contacts him in any manner, he's to call you immediately.
Make sure if there's further issues, you go straight to this man here and you do what you need to do or come to this council to get whatever you need from us.
Yeah, whatever officer's on duty, I mean, immediately.
All right.
So we don't need to.
Okay.
So wait a minute, so, is.
No,
ready to
ours
vote
is
on
handling it,
anything?
and he's content with that, and if there's any other issues, then.
Okay, but that was an issue with this, but I also, what I'm wanting to know is.
That was only the permanent structure at that, so they're gonna, the code enforcement.
So the
Well,
aunt owns the aunt, she has a house, that, like an empty lot attached to the house or something? She's getting tickets.
There used to be a house there that there's a pad, I think, I assume
Yeah,
there
there's
used to be a house maybe?
Concrete
There's a
pad
concrete
on it.
pad
There's
there.
some concrete there.
Right.
So,
But what I'm saying is this guy gonna have to like move?
yeah.
Okay.
You can't live in it.
No, that's what I didn't hear that part of, if they were gonna take care of that.
It was never explicitly said that he was gonna be told that he had to move his camper.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so we're good? Okay. Moving on to 7-8, review discussion possible action on a resolution for the reimbursement to Ted and Abby for sewer install. So I put this on the agenda after discussing with them. I know you've seen the emails. I don't really what that Cody had passed around earlier. I think it was, and Ted and Abby can speak on that. If you know Ted and Abby, you know they don't want to start any trouble, and I think that's where kind of this started back in 23, that they were 22, whatever, that they were told, you know, the city didn't have the money to provide them with sewer, we wouldn't be able to, it'd take several months, etc. Cody did go to them and say, hey, it's law that we have to, but them not wanting to cause any issues and not wanting to kick it down the road 6-9 months, they installed their own septic. It wasn't an issue anymore until now, under new administration, if you will. A shop goes up next to them and they immediately get septic. And it's.
Which I sold them the lot.
And he sold them the
It's part of
lot,
my
and now
lot.
they get septic, no questions asked, and he's like, hey.
How can they get it and we could?
I do remember right after you put septic in, you actually came to one of the meetings and you were asked about it and you didn't want to really respond. When I'm like, well, you know, do we need to address this as a council? And you were kind of just like, yeah, let's let it lie.
We're still not trying to, I mean.
You don't wanna cause issues.
Cody made it sound like I'm coming here to try
No,
to
no.
rob you of $7,000. He also forgot to tell you in our conversations, he said the first thing you should do is sue the city of Lone Star.
Sure.
So,
And
That's a
that part.
solution for everything.
So it's my opinion that if you wanted to get on the city septic, I don't know, is the water and sewer $1,000 hookup fee, is that one fee for both?
No, water's one, we paid $600 for water.
Okay. So if there's a standard fee for septic and you wanted to get onto that, I would say we should do our proper efforts in getting that hooked up for you, but I don't think the city should be paying for your septic system if you wanted to get on it.
That was never the intention. That's,
Okay.
it might have been written that way, but that was never the intention.
I don't know why it's on here otherwise. What's the
Yeah.
point? I mean, can you put it on? Can you
Yeah, I
tell
just
me
didn't
what the
reimburse
point
because
She needs to elaborate.
in my mind, I'm thinking, hey, like, I don't wanna reimburse them for the septic, but I'm like, hey, if we can
Discount their water.
An
discount the
employee-
water or something to compensate them for being told incorrectly that, we're not gonna provide them with sewer.
An employee told him that information, but that information was corrected by multiple people, giving them the opportunity to make it right.
What people
No,
release?
and it
No,
said
no,
the
no,
mayor also
no.
told him that was, Shane even said the mayor said that was the best solution, was to put in the septic.
Right. I
Cody's
don't-
email says that.
I think if he wants to be on the city sewer, we should obviously, because it's in the certificated service area, we have to provide it, but I don't think we need to.
But they've already put out all this
They've already
money.
put the
But
money
it's-
out.
but
It's
but
not
that was
in.
their choice.
That's my thing.
That was their choice.
No,
They didn't.
no,
That was because
no,
they did
no,
not- they were
It's not our
told.
choice.
Right,
In
they
the
were told
email,
by Shane.
did you read the email? It says, City of Lone Star will not be able to provide sewer collection services for 200 Mark Street, which is located inside the city limits. This is
But
an
you were
underdeveloped
informed
property,
later that that
therefore
wasn't
no
valid
city
or
sewer is
accurate.
accessible.
Right, but you were informed that that wasn't accurate and that there was a
Well, it
remedy.
was too late.
It was too late, and they
It
were
was
being
too
told
late.
there wasn't
Yeah.
money for it, and it would have to, it was gonna be, what, 6 to 9 months down the road or something?
Yeah.
And they're not asking for us to reimburse them on their stuff. Their whole point in this even being put on here is they sold a piece of their land to someone else. They built a shop and we immediately gave them.
Right, because we know better now. That we had a previous employee that didn't know better.
Oh,
Shane knew better. That's
Okay.
what to say, cause Shane point blank told
Yes,
me he just
Cody.
wasn't giving it.
The email from February 9th, 2023. Thanks for all the info, but we are not going to apply for sewer service. You never applied for sewer service.
You never
Apparently
asked
those
for it.
people did.
He asked for, he was told whenever he come in here that he couldn't get it by the
Yes.
public works
And
director
friends
and
of
the
mine
mayor.
came down here and said,
You didn't
asked and
fill out
said,
an
what is this? This is stupid. You're in the
Just because
city.
he didn't apply on an application, and he come down here and talked to the public works.
And he said it was too late, but read the tense in that email. He had not done either one at that point, and I said just
Cody,
run an
I didn't
application.
really give a shit what you were telling me. I wasn't listening to you. I didn't want to take any of your stuff.
We've had
I didn't
people
want
like
to
you
listen.
from Pennsylvania come here my whole life. You're a
He's saying he's not here to get paid back, but you're trying to make the citizens refund him when he didn't ask for it or isn't saying he wants it.
That's not what I'm saying.
Our employee, which the city is responsible for.
We were wrong in what we
We
did.
were wrong.
I was just saying, hey, you know what? I think a fair solution would be discount their water bill and $50 a month or
For the
whatever.
next
until
5
it's-
years.
Right.
Or however long it takes.
Because that was our fault. We cost them an extra $7,000 because our employees didn't know any better.
They're not asking for anything. Us as a council should take care of these people because our employee, as a council, employee did the wrong thing.
I
Did
got
not
asked,
take
how
care
does
of
the
these
people next to me get sewer, but I couldn't. I'm like,
Because they put it.
I don't know, and I wasn't here to make that decision, but I can try to make it right now that I am.
And I didn't even know them back then. I
So-
mean, I couldn't believe whenever Shane told me, he said, I'm just not providing it for them. We're not digging under the road. We're not doing it.
It's just
Point blank told me, I didn't have a clue who these people were.
morally trying to fix something that was screwed up prior
I
to
just
it.
don't think we can go around and just start trying to make moral judgments and throwing money at things if people aren't even asking for it.
You guys just decide whatever you're gonna do. I don't really give a shit anymore.
God.
And if I ever see you again, it'll be too soon.
Okay.
I just want
Ma'am,
to.
leave.
Ma'am,
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 leave.
ma'am,
Leave.
ma'am.
Leave. Don't care.
Okay, so,
Would it be possible to split the difference? I know they don't want anything, but just kind of,
Well,
or
right,
give them that.
that's why I said, hey, let's just credit their water bill $50 a month or something, just to, hey, the city had screwed up, those are employees that we hired.
But
or people
not
that
for
we
the
elected.
7,000, because I mean, that's a lot of money, and if you did that for every single.
Right.
But, you know, they would have paid $1,000 for the hookup fee. You give them, a credit for $1,000 off the water bill for the, whatever, something to say, hey, we screwed up.
Mike could go along with the $1,000 hookup fee off their water. That would
Over
be a far
10
extent.
Yeah.
Well, just put a credit on their account and they don't pay a water bill
Bill
until
for-
the credit's used up, but, that would be the extent of where I'd be willing to go.
And what is the sewer tap, is it 1,600?
No, it's 1,000. It used to be 600 and we raised it to 1,000 here a few months ago.
Yeah. I said, my thing is $50 a month for three, what does that average out to be? I don't even know. I was just trying to offer
$50 a
something
month
to.
for 5 years,
Well,
$3,000,
if-
$600 a year.
We can
So if you
put
did
a
3 years,
credit
that's
on
gonna
their
be
account.
your 18.
We could put a credit on their account that just says their bill don't get printed until the credit's used up. We don't have to say X number of dollars for X amount of time. We just put $1,000 credit on their water account, and they don't get a bill for however long it takes for that to get used up.
Well, they're out, how much did it cost?
It's their choice.
Okay, so I think we ought to
It
go
was
half.
their
We ought to
choice.
correct we hired him, well, we did.
No, they made a choice to never apply. They asked.
They did apply.
They
They came in
verbally-
here and verbally applied.
It was
verbally
told
That's
we
not-
couldn't
that's not
supply
an
them, we
application.
did not have the
Well,
money, we were
and
not
like
able
I
to do it.
said, no, it's not on
Email
paper,
with
but
Shane
the
says
man
it'll take
point
2
blank
months.
told me
Email with Shane
he
said it'll take a
wasn't
while.
providing
Shane said
service
the right
because he
thing.
was not digging under that road.
They were
And
in
that is
October
wrong.
and said, well, we'd rather just pay for it and do it ourselves than to wait.
Because when
And
you
that's
ask the
where
public works director, who's above him? The mayor.
Right.
So he goes to the public works, the mayor says the same thing, it's on the email that he printed out. They both said that. Who else is he gonna go to?
Right.
He went to the
He
top
puts
and
in
the
an
top,
application.
and he was told no, so
He
he,
applies for it so that there's a paper trail.
well, okay, not everybody does everything by freaking statute,
Not everybody's
whatever.
perfect like you.
We use
people.
common sense, hey, can I get this? No, I can't, let me talk to your boss. Oh, I still can't get it? Okay, well, I'm gonna come up with a different solution.
Never
There
wrong
are
about nothing.
repercussions for making mistakes. If
I
that
make a
was-
motion that, we take $50 off of their bill for the next 5 years, and that equals $3,000. That ain't even half of what they paid.
Motion from Cindy.
I second it.
Which one do y'all
Dawn
want?
and Lisa.
Lisa can have it.
Lisa second.
Second from Lisa. All in favor? All against? Motion carried. 7-9, review discussion and possible action on third party all accounts payable, receivable, and payroll duties. This is a conversation that I had with the auditor. We are still going through audits and having to go back through previous audits to gather information because things are severely screwed up from years past. And I found out that this auditor offers an accounting service. Basically, he does it for hooks, I believe he said. He does all the accounts payable, all the accounts receivable, and payroll. That way you know your books are 100% right, and then he has a team of auditors that he would hand it over to at the end of the year. So everything's on the up and up. There's no room for everything not getting paid and severely past due and being late on audits for the last 3 years. So he has a fee of $2,000 a month. So it's $24,000 a year. But that takes a lot of duties off of your secretary, if you will. So I think before we interview for potential secretaries, I think we need to look at this option and then figure out how we want the rest, if we wanna keep Corey and then do a court clerk part-time or hire a secretary. How do we need to do that? I think this needs to be addressed first.
So, didn't you put pen and paper to it? And if we go with this, it saves.
Well, because if we
city-
don't hire another secretary, and Corey, you can kill me later, but we take this is a large portion of the secretarial duties off, then Corey's already full-time, she's getting paid insurance. If we just hired a part-time court clerk in there to help with all the water duties, we're not paying those benefits to another full-time employee, which is, what's the insurance now?
But even if we hire a full-time employee, are we still gonna, this is still gonna save us money, correct?
No, because that is the majority of the city secretary's job. And we are legally obligated in the state of Texas to have a city secretary. That is an administrative position that is absolutely required.
Right, but.
So we have to hire somebody.
But if you take some of this off, you don't have to pay them as much.
Right, that was kind of a different conversation we had.
Well, but like I said, the payroll and basically all the money is 80% of the secretary's job. If you take that away, there's nothing left for them.
My thing is,
there's a lot left.
There's a
on
lot
there,
left, there's a lot more to
like
that, but the secretary is a title if you're already doing all the other work. So, Corey, I don't even know, I haven't even talked to you about it, but if all of this was off of her plate and then she it's a city secretary / water clerk, and then you have another part-time person there to help her with all the water clerk and court duties, you eliminate.
Well, this company's been working on our audit for almost a year now.
Actually, he hasn't, because he wasn't given the information that he requested multiple times. So it wasn't until I talked to him, and then now these ladies have been busting their butt, digging through attics and everything else, getting him all the information. He asked for
We got it all.
information. We were told it was given to him, but it wasn't.
Could I get those email
And the
chains
books have not been,
of what he's asked for?
do what?
Could I get the email chains of what he's asked for?
Oh, yeah, that'd be on the secretary email, not mine. But I talked to him verbally, and then I get into QuickBooks, and the books haven't been properly reconciled since July of 2020, just for the general fund account. It was over $1 million off, so I could see why auditors would have problems.
I don't know how we came up with the budget.
I don't know how we come up with the budget either.
Because we didn't have
That's
no
what we're dealing
numbers.
with, and that's why it's taking so long.
Yeah.
So that's why I think we need something like this, because
It never happens.
turnover and everything else we have to have somebody that, we have to be held accountable for our budgets, and we're not going to unless we get.
Regardless of whether
I think we're gonna end up paying somebody the $50,000 a year as city secretary with all the benefits and all the titles and all that stuff, and then this would be another $24,000 on top of that, and I think it's unnecessary. I think we find a good employee and put them in that position, train them well, and
Well, my opinion on this, I mean, even if whether we go with this or not, I still believe we're gonna have to have full-time employees in there.
You know, we were paying the court clerk, what, 30 hours, was that a week? At $15 an hour? That was $1,800 a month right there.
So even if you hired a full-time secretary and you just eliminated the clerk, the court clerk.
Or slash.
It's only a $200 difference, honestly.
And it pays for that, and then you know your books are taken care of.
Yeah.
I am curious too how the checks getting signed and all that, how that works. Do they cut all the checks and send them into the city? Deliver
They
them?
come by once a week and pick up all the bills, and then the next week they come by and drop the checks off for the bills for y'all to sign, and then they pick up the next round of bills. That's how he's doing it with Hooks. And he's picking up a few other ones, but he's been doing it with Hooks for 2 or 3 years, and because they have high turnover as well and deal with the same thing.
I don't think it's the right move.
Well, you ain't gotta worry about, you know, I mean, I guess you gotta worry about anybody stealing from you, but you ain't gotta worry about people taking time. I get that. But like I said, yay or nay on this, I do believe we need 2 full-time employees.
I think it would be easier for our audits.
I
if
think
they
it would
were
be,
doing
your
it.
books, you just handed it, and it's turned over, and everything's done, and it's.
And then by not
plausible
hiring
liability.
a
Hey,
clerk.
well, I hired these guys to do it. They can pay the late fees because they didn't pay it.
But not hiring the clerk, that almost pays for it.
That
And I
pays for
don't
itself.
think, because we've, like he said, we've taken 80% of the duties off the city secretary, we paid the city secretary less.
Well, that or the city secretary helps Corey more with the water and stuff. It frees up the secretary to be able to help across the office with the court clerk. It makes them both universal to where they can move around. You're not stuck in there doing this all day.
With dealing with the council and all the stuff that comes in and all the people that
This
comes
pays
in
for itself
all
with the
throughout
clerk.
the day and, you know, because you get interrupted 20 times a day. A secretary, with this guy being hired, the secretary's got plenty to do in there, I promise, because all the interruptions, they barely get the crap done that they're supposed to do.
I'm still not gonna leave him alone.
I ain't either, but I'm just saying, you know.
As screwed up as those books are, I don't think, I mean, you will find one in a random batch, but I don't think you're gonna find, somebody that's actually qualified enough to do all of the necessary, it's not, the secretary's not
Because we were
gonna seal
being
it all
told
of us. I
everything
mean,
was
these
being
books,
handled.
I mean,
Dude, I
there's
don't
300 sets of books in there right now, and none of them are right.
Right. I mean, there's stuff that needs to be followed.
Will this be under a yearly contract? If in 90 days we decide this is not a good situation for us, can we get out of this and retain the responsibilities through the city secretary?
I think when I talked to him, it doesn't say. I will invoice you for my services monthly at my normal billing rates.
I thought he was monthly.
Well, that's what I was just making sure
Yeah.
that if at some point, if this is approved, can it be
Right,
stopped
if we don't like what
without-
he's doing, we can just opt out.
without being
Right.
penalized?
And I would call it clarify that, because I was thinking something like a year, but that does not, that says monthly, so.
Well, I make a motion that we, contract this guy because, I mean, I've been in there, although Keith thinks I don't need to be, I've been in there, and I know how much work it is. This right here is gonna take a lot off of them, the city secretary will still have plenty to do, so I make a motion that we do.
We have a motion from Cindy.
I'll second it.
Second from Dawn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? 3-1, motion carries.
You can terminate, upon 30 days written notice. That's what I was trying to.
Either party.
Either party
Does
may
that have-
terminate.
Yeah, either one of them. Us or
Okay, I
them.
see that
That's
now.
what I was looking
Okay.
for. Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.